Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Knowing Who, another Doctor Who podcast. We're back, baby.
The long-awaited return.
Yeah, and we're here to chat about a certain episode that was on this weekend.
Yeah.
And also just a series in general. We are here to discuss Doctor Who Season 2 and...
Or Series 15.
Series 15, or Season 48, or whatever number it is. We're here to say goodbye to Varada Sethu. We're here to say goodbye to Millie Gibson. We're here to say goodbye to Ncuti Gatwa, the 15th Doctor. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about here. And I kind of think maybe the best place to start would be let's quickly have a little rundown of the series itself before we get to the reality war itself. It's war and it's happening, but let's just work out how we got there. So Ben, you know, the people will have heard our thoughts about a certain episode on another podcast.
We were on Who Knew a couple of weeks ago talking about the well.
We were indeed, with the lovely Joshua Carr.
It was a very fun experience, and I absolutely crash out at the end
when I lose
Quiz Chibnall.
Yeah, unfortunately we haven't got anything as fun as Quiz Chibnall here. We have got Twixes though, because I'm starving. Yes. So if you hear any rattling,
some Twix ASMR.
That's a bit of Twix for you there. Lovely comment. I've mentioned this to Ben.
Yes.
I was watching behind the scenes of, I think, Wishworld or maybe Reality War. There was a little clip of Anita Dobson and Archie Punjabi, the two Ranis, both eating each side of a Twix, which I think is lovely. And, you know, there you go. That could have been incorporated into the episode. Talk us through, Ben. What is your general...
I've got the Wikipedia.
Oh, I thought this was 15. A big notes that you've been making over the course of the week.
No. Series 15, Season 2, whatever, officially starts with Joy to the World, which, of course, we've already talked about.
We have already talked about
episodes ago. I don't know how many episodes ago, but we did. Which I thought would have nothing to do with the rest of the series. Mm-hmm. We'll get to that later. Episode 1, Robot Revolution. We meet Belinda Chandra for the first time.
We do.
She gets abducted by robot aliens from the future? Question? I can't remember. Future? Past?
Yeah, I'm still not quite sure about that, but...
we'll get to that.
Yeah. Again, that gets mentioned here as well.
It does, which is actually quite nice.
In fact, I think every single story is basically referred to in some shape or form in the finale.
Yep. So we meet some robots from the future and a incel from the past on this robot planet. They make best friends with the Doctor and Varada, or Belinda, and they live happily ever after. Except they can't get back to Earth on May the 24th, the day that Belinda has to get back for something. Who knows what that is. So, very quickly, highlight of Robot Revolution for you. I'm going to say for my highlight, it would be the design of the Belinda Chandra bots. I thought that was a beautiful 60s-esque kind of chunky robot design. Yeah.
I think that was kind of the aesthetic of that was my takeaway.
To match that, I'm going to go with the design of Alan's robot form.
Very creepy.
Creepy, scary robot man. I think that was really good.
Harkening back to kind of weird 80s kind of, is that okay for children kind of films? You know?
Sort of the vibe I got, and I haven't actually seen this story, but it's a bit Pirate Planet.
Yes, actually,
From what pictures I've seen of
Captain.
That story, that's
very
much the vibe I get from that.
Yeah.
And of course, people online speculated that could be Omega. Wouldn't be him.
Did they really?
They did. Wouldn't be him. He would never come back.
No.
Cool. Moving on. They can't get back to Earth on May the 24th, so they go to 1950s Miami.
And they meet
Mr. Ring-a-Ding.
Who makes your heart bells sing.
Yes.
Are you going to sing it?
No.
Okay.
Ring-a-ding, heart bells sing, make me laugh, autograph.
I'm leaving you. You're on your own with this. You can carry on.
Just one thing. I am here. Yes, Mr. Ring-a-Ding. There we go.
I hope all of you made your way through that and didn't switch off.
I was trying to make it not peak and make the audio fine. Anyway, and they've invented the Vindicator, which is another plot device which keeps coming back.
Again, big point.
So the Vindicator is a device that will let them pinpoint May the 24th, sort of triangulate it through going to different time periods and cross-referencing and finding how to get back. So that comes back every episode from here on. Mr. Ring-a-Ding, God of Light, Lux is his real name.
Yep.
They defeat him by setting fire to some cinema reels.
Some missing episodes of Doctor Who.
Yes,
again,
very much the vibe.
Highlight from Lux, which was So good.
My favourite part of Lux was 3D animated ring-a-ding with the really gross, disgusting
Again,
face.
Very creepy, very scary, terrifying.
Yeah, it was. I really liked that bit. Lux was I was going to say really good, but I think that's the general consensus. So I don't think I have to say
absolutely, yeah. And Alan Cumming, I think, would be my highlight for that. Just absolutely, stole the show, and no mistake. He was phenomenal, and the animation, the music, everything involved in Mr. Ring-a-Ding's creation.
He was so good.
Sublime.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Although, don't forget, that's the episode where they break the fourth wall and meet the Doctor Who fans in the living room. Which was fine. I think it went on a bit long. But I didn't mind it as much as I thought I would.
I'm surprised that we didn't get any reference to that.
I thought we would, because the whole screen shatters when he changes reality. And
Absolutely.
I thought we were going to meet someone.
I was dead ready for a fourth wall break.
But no. Carrying on, not to get too dragged down. Ring-a-Ding dies. He gets absorbed into space. Now we have the well,
which we have talked about.
We have talked about in
depth.
Length.
Yeah, very much in
yes,
at length. I think our episode is one of the longest ones on Josh's season 2.
And we had a great time doing it. I think he did as well. So go back and have
really
a listen
fun.
to that. But again, general consensus. I think we both really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, we loved it. Yeah,
we had
absolutely.
some mixed feelings about the return of the Midnight Entity and
I think
differences.
you two more so than me. I think I was.
But in general, all three of us, we loved it. Had a great time.
Absolutely.
Fun.
I mean, there's so many highlights.
Creepy. Again.
Yeah.
Another scary,
very
creepy
scary
one.
and creepy. Yeah, absolutely.
And the Vindicator comes back at the start.
Does indeed.
And they vindicate things.
I was going to say highlight for that, but I think that just the whole episode was so darn brilliant.
Yeah, that's a really again. And if you want to know more, go back and listen to Who Knew. Moving on, Lucky Day, Dr. Light story and Companion Light, technically, sort of.
Well, the current companion, yes. Yeah.
We start in New Year's Day 2007.
We do.
Conrad makes his first appearance. Conrad Clark as a
Mr.
young boy.
Clark. Yeah.
He gets given 50 pence from the Doctor. Miles is having a Twix.
Wow.
And then we flash forward. We flash forward to the modern day. We see Ruby Sunday again for the first time this series. We see her family in that episode. Parts of, maybe.
Can't see Ruby's family in that.
Yes,
we do. And we see her mum as well.
We
both
do.
mums.
We do.
We both see
all
Carla
57 of her mums.
Everyone. And Cherry Sunday.
And Cherry
you
Sunday.
Can't get enough of.
Did she get a cup of tea? I can't remember.
I'm sure she did.
And of course, Ruby meets Conrad. They start dating. He's got a Doctor Who podcast. He's just like us. He's a big nerd, lame. And then it turns out he's actually horrible. He thinks UNIT is lying. He doesn't believe in aliens, or maybe he does, and he's just trying to create an audience. It's a commentary on Andrew Tate.
And a very interesting twist of fate as well. I personally didn't see that coming. I know that various people had pieced that together.
I didn't see that exact thing happening. I could tell something was weird because he clearly was more interested in the Doctor than he was in Ruby, but I didn't see that happening.
You got weird vibes. You don't really trust
much.
him from the start, but not quite to that degree.
Exactly. I think that's probably my highlight of the series.
Really?
I think that's probably my favourite one.
I thought it was going to be, but I think that I would place things like Lux, the next story we're going to talk about, and I think it was really fantastic, but I was surprised that I actually liked other episodes even more than it, because I did expect it to be my highlight, because I love Ruby Sunday.
And it's really good to know that we both think that, because of course it was written by Pete McTeague or McTeague, is it?
Absolutely. Pete McTeague.
I don't know.
Kablam
Man. I've always said Teague, and then Miles said Tig, I think, once to me.
I wasn't
sure.
I'm sure he's
anyway,
said it somewhere.
But he's of course writing, or at least written part of the War Between the Land and the Sea, which is coming out sometime in the future.
Yeah, Russell has said coming soon-ish. I think that's the official line.
We still don't know when. I think most people think it's going to be later this year. But
maybe we'll chat about
possibly
that
next year. Point. Fingers crossed. I hope next year for reasons we'll get to, I'm sure, later. Moving on, I think Miles and I are going to have an argument now, because he said this was possibly his favourite episode. The story and the engine. I did not like this one at all.
I think it was quite polarising. I was surprised, actually, because I finished it and I was like, what a brilliant piece of TV. That was fantastic.
Finished it and I went, what on earth? I don't understand anything.
Yeah, I was surprised at how many people, some people thought it was the slower pace they didn't quite like. I really enjoyed the fact that
I didn't mind the pace. I just think there was a lot of it that I just didn't understand why it was happening. I think
I liked the different layers to it, and that it was both about storytellers. It was about community. It had so many different thematic levels to it that I really appreciated, and I thought the cast were brilliant. I thought that the barber himself was fantastic, and in fact it was the BAFTAs that very weekend, and what do you know, it wins a BAFTA.
Did he?
Yeah, for either best actor or best supporting actor. Fortunately his name has just disappeared from my head. Please tell me he was on the
it's not on the Wikipedia.
Oh well
hang on, I'll go
he
to
was
Wikipedia for that
certainly fantastic.
The barber, Arion Bakare.
Arion Bakare, fantastic performance. Really brilliant. I loved it's such a different type of Doctor Who episode set in
extremely, yeah.
Yeah,
and I didn't have a problem.
Culture.
I didn't have a problem with how different it was. I quite liked the setting, and I liked the idea of the Doctor going to this barbershop to feel more accepted, and that he's trying to figure out how to use this new body of his and how he fits in and how the differences between his current regeneration and his previous incarnations. I loved all that. But then, I don't know, the way they treated the barber character when he first arrives, they sort of they're talking to each other as if they know each other, as if the audience is meant to know who this guy is. They're building him up like he's this returning baddie. That's the feeling I got.
Okay.
And I think, from what I can tell, other people thought similar. And then they just, at the end, go, I'm just some guy. That's the.
But then you say that, and then you get fans saying, "Oh, why are they bringing all these old things back?" And so it's kind of two sides of the same.
Exactly.
I very much loved that one. I thought it was.
And of course, Fugitive Doctor Joe Martin makes a small cameo appearance, which was great.
A lot of old nods to the Jodie era. Yes. Again, as we will get to.
We'll get to.
Yeah.
Although I am confused as to how the Doctor remembers meeting someone as the Fugitive Doctor.
So I think I did think of a sort of my own headcanon to do with that, in the sense of it's more the woman, her character, seeing the Fugitive Doctor in that moment, rather than the Doctor remembering specifically being the Fugitive Doctor.
No, but when they first meet, the Doctor says, "I know you. We've met before."
But not. Absolutely, he's unsure, right? He's not like, I know instantly who who you are. He's vague about it, and vague enough that I think it kind of works. Okay. It's Doctor Who.
It's Doctor Who.
There you go. That's your answer.
Moving on.
Make me showrunner. I've got answers like this. It's Doctor Who.
It's Doctor Who. Nothing's canon. Moving on. The Interstellar Song Contest.
Yes, absolutely.
I enjoyed it, but mixed feelings on it.
We
haven't done a highlight from the last story. Sorry, barbershop highlight.
Well, I mean, I've to the whole damn story, but I mean,
my highlight would be Fugitive Doctor, I think.
Fair enough.
Acknowledgement.
And I would probably say, if I was going to give a specific one, performance of the barber.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. The Interstellar Song Contest. So I had a great time watching it, because my family, we're big on just watching Eurovision, having a good Eurovision night.
Just to preface, my family, complete opposite.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go. So it was kind of a nice, it was the end of the FA Cup leading into Doctor Who.
Again, not interested in the FA Cup.
And it was a great vibe. I loved Rylan. He's probably my highlight for that one.
Okay.
Absolutely. So fantastic. I mean, given that he's not an actor, he just got it. He got the assignment.
He wasn't like, often when people come in to play themselves in a drama or in a dramatized way, you can tell they're a bit wooden, a bit stinted, a bit sort of, they don't really know what they're doing.
Perhaps like another, I wasn't so much of a fan of Graham Norton's performance. I know he was a hologram, so that kind of forgives
I know
it.
Exactly what
but
you mean.
Rylan was natural.
It feels like he's coming up with that. Yeah, genuinely off the top of his head.
Like the little give me some like that's just great. Really good. He got the jokes. He got how to deliver it. Great stuff.
He was very good in this
and he's a fan as well. You see him in Unleashed, and he's talking about the game station. Like this guy.
Yeah,
this guy knows his stuff. The only kind of, and I thought there's great elements to it. I loved the various characters. I loved Gary and Mike, the couple. I loved Belinda's kind of panic of how she's going to get home. That phenomenal there's a lot of highlights for this one I could pick, including
I know exactly what my highlight is.
Is it going to be a certain shot?
No.
Well, I would just want to highlight that shot when all the bodies are rising into space and it's silhouetted by this. It's just gorgeous. You can see where the money's gone for that.
Most expensive episode of Doctor Who ever made, of course.
Absolutely. And you can, like I say, in those moments of the actual song contest, you can see that on the screen. Very much so. Do you want to give me your highlight before I just give my other 2 cents on it? Oh, of course, I didn't even... Okay, Ben, I literally only just got this thing out of my head. I can't believe you've done that. Please stop
that's
it.
Enough. That's the still live 24/7 Duggadoo.
Is it actually like a constant live stream?
Started 11 days ago, 32 people watching.
Wow.
Yeah, still going. That's genuinely my highlight. I love Duggadoo. Wow. It keeps popping up. Katie, my partner Katie, hates it, and it's constantly, if we're like brain rotting watching TikTok together or something, which we often do, Duggadoo will pop up all the time, and she'll turn to me and say, "Turn it off. I hate that. Stop playing Duggadoo."
It is...
I love it.
I mean, congratulations to Murray Gold. You created the perfect earworm. It is just so catchy.
I hope, so I sincerely hope that when, or if the series 1 and 2, 14, 15 soundtrack, because I assume they'll do it as a bundle, Duggadoo's on it, I hope.
Oh, it absolutely
It's got
will.
to be.
Maybe even the odd other... My Big Feet, is that the other one? And
oh yeah,
I love you, but my heart says no.
That's got to be.
There you go.
Well.
You got me. I sang something.
Look at him.
You know.
Look at him go. Genuine highlight. I loved it. In the moment of the episode, it was really funny as well.
And it's funny, and also it fits into that weird Eurovision-y kind of. You'll get some songs which is like, what the heck is this?
Yeah, and
that's Duggadoo.
Your highlight, that shot of everyone frozen in space. Duggadoo is there.
Yeah, Duggadoo
frozen in the background. No, he is. You
but
can see him. He's next to Rylan.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I need
he's
to go
on the
back.
left of Rylan, yeah.
There you go. I really did.
He's huge as well. He's like 5 foot tall. I would assume he was
They
tiny.
did a cardboard cut of him on set, didn't they?
I think
to
so,
work out the scale. Talking about this one, I think I really did love it. The only sticking point for me was the Doctor's aggression at Kid, which felt kind of uncomfortable and a bit... It was less sort of... Here's the vengeful Time Lord, and more. This is just a bit nasty, and it was just a bit sadistic in terms of the torturing side of it.
Some people, I think, were saying that they liked it because the Doctor does get angry often, and you see that side of him. But when I was watching it, I was kind of just thinking, this doesn't feel right. You know, this doesn't suit the character that I'm watching, that I've been watching at least for a year. You know, with Ncuti's Doctor.
I think. This is a very emotional Doctor, and he feels emotions very strongly. If he feels sad, he'll feel very sad. If he feels happy, he'll be so joyous. And I get that his anger is ferocious because of that fact, but I think that it kind of didn't feel justified enough for me in that moment, because this is, you know, a very this is potentially a misunderstood character, and the Doctor knowing that those people can be saved, it's kind of like, well, it wasn't quite... That was kind of his point of doing it. It's like, you massacred these people, but it's like, you know that they can be saved.
And I really don't like how quickly Belinda forgives him.
I think that's my other thing as well. I think she needed to really pick him up on that. Yeah.
She just goes, oh, well, you've stopped now. We're best friends again.
Because you could have got a really interesting thing of her being like, that's horrible. How am I traveling you? You've got
especially
to
with
you
how
get
the
me home right
started,
now. And then we go into Wishworld. She gets all, you know, we're in the WandaVision-y type thing. She has no idea. She snaps out of it, and she's like,
she's still outraged.
And that's when she goes, and that kind of gives us a different kind of exit, because she's like, you know. Anyway, we'll go into that.
We'll get to that.
So yeah, and then we follow that.
Of course, hang on, we've missed one thing.
Oh, have we?
The return of Susan Foreman.
Susan Foreman, absolutely.
Which that's basically it. We get nothing from there on. Grandfather.
Find me.
No one. We didn't find her, which is strange because, of course, in Unleashed she's wearing a weird space jacket, different costume to what she wore in the Interstellar Song Contest.
Yeah,
we may never know.
Well, we may never know
what was going on there. Continuing on, Wishworld, part 1 of the 2-part finale.
Yes.
Although it doesn't really feel like very different stories.
They do. They absolutely do. I mean, watching them in the cinema, it was kind of like.
Did you see it in the cinema in the end?
Yes.
I did as well last night.
It was kind of like less so that Legend of Ruby Sunday and Empire of Death, they do feel like a very sort of bum. Whereas this, because Wishworld is so kooky and weird and WandaVision-y, you know, that was a very different kind of vibe going into the finale.
So yes, Wishworld, the Doctor and Belinda, after the TARDIS doors exploding on them when they arrived to the 24th of May last week, wake up in bed together, and they're all lovey-dovey and married, and John Smith and Belinda Smith, and perfect sort of 50s idyllic family image. They have a daughter, Poppy, from Space Babies.
Captain Poppy.
Captain Poppy makes a
Who
return.
popped up previously.
Who we saw at the end of the story of the engine, for some reason. Stories leaking. That's what he said. Stories are leaking out. Sure. And then the Doctor goes to work, basically. Ruby Sunday makes an appearance again, sorry. She almost gets arrested for doubting. Doubting makes mugs fall through tables.
Yep, tables don't do that, though.
Tables, well, we'll get to that. The Doctor goes to work at the Unified Insurance.
Unified National Insurance Team.
That's it. Unified National Insurance Team. I think it's very funny. I quite like that.
Yeah.
It's just the unit set's been redressed with some wooden
They are getting their money's worth out of that set.
They really are.
Yeah, absolutely.
He almost gets arrested for being a bit fruity with...
That was a really interesting... Colonel Ibrahim.
Colonel Ibrahim. I was going to call him Alexander. Colonel Ibrahim.
Yeah, that was a very interesting sort of side plot that... It would have been nice to sort of have it explored a bit more, because it was so... That stuff is so horrible, you know, and very dystopian, very Black Mirror kind of, you know, that moment felt like something right out of a Charlie Brooker script. You know? And
then, of course, he almost does it again when he says, "Who is she?" in reference to the Rani flying above the sky. I think that's a very valid question, but clearly not.
You're not allowed to wonder. That's the thing. It's don't let your mind wander.
I see.
Isn't it? Or wonder, rather.
I gotcha. And then the Doctor goes home. He's had a rough day. He's watching the telly with a glass of whiskey.
As you do.
And his ex pops up on the screen from a hell dimension, Rogue, which was shot last year at the end of that episode. I can't remember what it's called.
Rogue.
Oh, yeah.
There's a clue.
At the end of Rogue, which he even leaked to Ncuti, saying they got me shooting this thing about tables or something. No one knew what was going on a green screen. Definitely on a green screen, as you can probably tell if you didn't see the behind the screens footage. Doesn't really make any sense. I'm not going to question it. And then he says tables don't do that.
Great to see Jonathan Groff back again, though. Like,
yeah,
you know,
I thought we'd never see him again.
Why not? You know,
yeah. I'm glad we see something, because I don't think we're ever going to see him again at this point.
I was thinking the same thing literally the other day. I was like, it's nice that we've at least got another appearance rather than completely forgetting him entirely.
Exactly.
And we can maybe explore it in a novel one day.
Or Big Finish.
Yeah. Because it'll never be with the 15th Doctor, because given that that's his last adventure, that's the last time
But it could have happened, I feel like that could have happened after Rogue and before season 2.
That's potentially that could be a future thing.
It doesn't mention anything. Like, he doesn't say, the last time I saw you, we were fighting bird demons in the 1700s, you know? So it could just be...
I'm sure there's a workaround.
Exactly. Big Finish will figure it out.
Absolutely.
Tables don't do that. The Doctor gets inquisitive. He starts doubting. Huge amounts of doubt. Mugs are falling through tables like crazy. He gets arrested after Belinda reports on him to the Nazis, the Gestapo. And then... he meets the Ranis.
The two Ranis.
Which is a reference that I didn't get until I I saw a tweet afterwards.
I can't believe I didn't get that joke that they make in the finale until I was like, I know obviously the line, you know, it's good night for me. That's an obvious reference to the two Ronnies. No, it's like culturally...
I've never heard of the two Ronnies. Genuinely, I had to Google it. Miles is leaving.
I don't know how far to go with that guy.
I genuinely haven't. I have seen the clip.
I can't believe you.
I have seen the clip of him
Ronnies.
on a Sarah Jed Adventures Red Nose Day thing where he says the two Ranis in response in reference.
Oh my
to
god!
Rani.
Even that's a joke. I didn't even know that. Even that.
I've
was
seen
the two
that
Ronnies
before.
Wow.
But I didn't know what that was at the time either. I was even younger then. So there we go. That's the next episode. We meet the two Ranis. Blah blah blah. Omega. Sorry.
Well, whatever floats your boat.
Especially in the second part of this story. And Omega's coming back. Belinda vanishes. Thresholds. Drone bots from the previous story, which don't get explained. And then the Doctor falls off a balcony. Dun dun dun. To be continued.
Yeah.
Which leaves us with part 2. What we're going to talk about for the rest of this episode.
War.
Excuse me.
War.
The reality what?
The The reality war.
War.
So,
where do we start?
Where to be? Maybe the best thing is
neither of us have notes. For
yeah. This is kind of a blind sort of review, really.
I've watched this episode twice. I believe. Miles, have you watched it twice?
You've watched it twice?
Yes, I watched it again this morning.
You did, yes.
I told you that before we started.
I've watched it once in the cinema, and I've seen Unleashed and a bit of the YouTube behind the scenes.
Same. Cool.
So, before we get into it, I just want your initial vibes off the top of your head. What did you think?
Purely going off vibes.
Yes.
I actually really enjoyed it.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
But
right,
when you start to think about it any way,
oh god,
it doesn't really make any sense.
Right. Okay. I think the criticisms I've heard and I'm gonna hear are valid.
I don't know if I'm gonna. I don't think I'm gonna be, shouting about how terrible it was, and I'm gonna criticize it constantly. I think I did actually enjoy it.
I think life's too short to be saying those things.
I will probably, without realizing it, or I might go, oh yeah, and then this happened, which I didn't like. At the moment, I don't actually know what I'm going to say. So
okay, well, yeah, I'd be interested.
I don't have anything lined up that I'm going to complain about.
I'm very glad though to hear you say that you enjoyed it on, just on a very basic level. Because I certainly did. I had a smile on my face.
Yep.
I laughed. I had fun. That's what this show is to me. That's what I want to get out of it. It was.
Well, I'm glad you've gotten that because you might not ever get it again.
Well, we'll see. We'll chat about that. It was a real shame I've actually deleted Twitter off my phone.
Yes.
The sweet relief of not going on. I am actually surprised.
Yeah.
I thought when I deleted it off my phone, because I didn't want to get spoilers and stuff, I thought it's going to be quite hard because I'm always on Twitter and I need that kind of thing.
I need to do that.
Honestly, Ben, I felt so good.
I need to do it.
But anyway, I jumped on Twitter when I got home just to post a silly clip of Billie Piper saying, "Oh God, I'm a chav." Because
I saw that. That was very funny.
There you go. Izzy can take credit for that though. That was actually her joke. That's what she said to me at the cinema when that happened. She turned around and went, "Oh my God, I'm a chav," and I was like, "I've got to post that." But I went on Twitter, had a scroll, and there was a lot of negativity.
Yeah.
And I forget that at the end of the day, there is a certain vocal minority who will go and say those things, whereas the other people who did enjoy it will kind of just sort of go, "I enjoyed it," and then that's it, and they might not even post about it because, like, I saw an Instagram story with like those sort of, what did you think of the episode? 5-star, for all the star ratings, and it was like overwhelmingly 5-star. There was only like a few minorities saying 1-star. So I think that, I always bear that in mind. And I know fans, we're passionate about this show. We're passionate about this show in the same way that you'd be passionate about a rugby team or a football team, and you never want your team to have a bad match, and you'll always be commenting on the, Gatwa did well. He did what he could. He had a, an all right show this evening. Then we cut to Russell as the manager.
This is coming from Miles, who's never watched a sports match in his entire life.
Not a clue. That was my reaction afterwards. I said to Izzy after we'd got out of the cinema, and I was kind of in shock, and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I feel like I've just gone to a football match and my team has just made the ball invisible, made it reappear, and done a backflip, and I have no idea what's just happened, but I had a great time."
It's a good way of putting it. Not knowing what's just happened.
And I didn't quite know where I was going with that, but basically I can see why people are passionate because they love this show. We all love this program, but equally, I think, I had a great time.
Good.
And that's good. And that's happy.
Yes. And watching it in the cinema, we didn't go to the same showing this time. But I
went to an Odeon because it was cheaper tickets.
I went to a View. It was only £7 each.
Are you serious? At the View?
Yeah, the one not too far from where we are.
I thought we were getting a discount.
What did you pay for?
£8 each.
Aha.
Wow, we were suckers.
Well, it might have been £7.99, which is basically £8.
Oh, there you go.
We had reclining seats though.
Oh, we didn't have that. We had a lot of popcorn and Tango Ice Blast though for a ridiculous amount of money.
Yes. Watching it in the cinema, there were laughs, there were cheers, there were
audible
gasps, yeah, which was actually really fun.
I was like the actual reaction was amazing. I thought we were going to veer on a round of applause at some points. You know,
I tried to start one. This is a bit of a tangent, but. Obviously, there were ads and trailers like when you go to the cinema. But I don't
was
remember
shocked at that
last
actually.
Year.
No, neither do I, because I thought I didn't work out the timings in my head, so I thought, oh, we'll get there, and then it will start at the time.
Which
that
I'm
it
pretty
said.
sure it did last year.
I'm almost certain because it was a later screening.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by that. But then when it finally started, there was a BBC iPlayer ad, which is the same one that normally comes on that says you can skip. So I annoyingly loud went, oh, where's the skip ad button? No one laughed. And then they played another ad, which I think was an ad specifically for Doctor Who.
Yeah.
David Tennant and Matt Smith and other
Classic
doctors
clips.
were all on there. And I just went, and no one joined in.
Oh.
I thought people might go, yay, Doctor Who.
It's funny because it was a shame that there wasn't any sort of countdown this year.
No.
Especially in the gap in between.
Which was a lot shorter than last year.
I have to say, I was terrified going for a toilet break in between.
Yeah, I didn't go.
I know, I was almost, I was bursting. I had the whole, Tango Ice Blast, and that's a lot of liquid. And a lot of crap that I shouldn't have put in my body.
Yeah.
But I literally ran to the toilet and came back just as Verada came up on the screen.
Last year there was a 15-minute interval plus the message from Millie, I think. If you seem shocked. Your eyes are huge.
No. I'm trying to remember because
And I tried to go to the bathroom last year and I couldn't because there were so many queues and it was so busy. So I came back, but if I'd done that again, I would have missed the start of the episode.
Practically. That's why I really wanted a countdown, because I could have been like, oh, we've got 5 minutes, whatever.
I'd even said to my mate who was with us, last year it was a 15-minute interval, you'll be all right. And then he'd missed the last time and the title sequence.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I think a lot of people in our screening missed that as well.
The Verada message was also very funny because you could see her eyes looking at the cue cards next to the camera, which I thought was very funny.
Yeah, it was, but equally very nice to get something, something exclusive to that screening, just like we got with Millie last year. And I just did miss the countdown because I remember last year. Do you remember we were with our work friend Gina, who just started counting 10, 9, and then everyone joined in, and we were all there going, "Yay!"
Yeah, that probably would have happened again if there was a countdown.
Yeah,
which there wasn't.
Yes, there wasn't. But you're right.
It cut from Verada straight into the last time trailer.
I was like,
nothing.
whoa! There's the Rani. Whoa, here we go. But yes, you're right. It was a very sort of visceral environment in terms of the reactions, the shocks.
There were laughs. There were. I was going to say there was crying. There wasn't, not that I know of. But there was genuinely people laughed, and then because you heard other people laughing, it makes you laugh a bit as well.
Yeah.
Where when I rewatched this at home, obviously I'd already seen it, but there were the same jokes, and I thought, yeah, it's kind of funny, I guess. I didn't.
It is
have the same
very
reaction.
Different. The communal environment is very different.
It was really nice to just have that
experience.
Yeah, while watching the show that I think pretty much everyone in the room loved.
And at a reasonable time of day as well.
Yeah,
I was so glad to be leaving the cinema when it was still light outside.
Yeah, it wasn't midnight.
Oh gosh, that was heavy. Wow. Yeah. But yeah. So Wishworld, we had a little, just reminder of all that.
Yep.
Did Casey do the same as last year and not watch Wishworld before you watched it?
Yes. Yeah.
I think Izzy did that this year as well.
I think she might have watched the beginning and then she said she got bored and turned it off. But she basically got into it blind, which I didn't actually realise at the time because I thought she'd already watched it. But yeah, I could tell she was really enjoying it.
Good.
Yeah. So it's good. Izzy, I assume, was the same.
Yeah. And she said she was glad that because it felt like a cinema experience by doing that, just with a weird interval in the middle.
It is weird watching something that you've already seen in the cinema.
And also weird watching the credits roll and like a to be continued, knowing that it will be immediately. Yeah. But yes, so we get a brief last time, kind of little previously.
And we're back to the Doctor falling on a balcony.
Yep. And he is saved by Anita. from Joyce to the World.
Not Anita Dobson.
Not an Anita. This is why I've been getting very confused
the other
hearing
Anita,
people talk about it.
The one who didn't take Christmas off.
Yes. Very good.
Back.
I like that. I thought it was a very funny line.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, yeah, we didn't actually see...
That got a laugh.
Yeah, we didn't see Mrs. Flood in...
Well, we saw at the very end of the story, but we didn't see her in... We saw her in the white coat.
In Joy to the World?
Wasn't that in Joy to the World? No, that wasn't. That was in the cinema. I'm wrong.
Oh, you saw... Yes.
That was at the end of last year.
Ignore
me, I'm wrong.
So quite a valid, funny little joke. But yes, so that makes a little bit of sense, because I had heard... Maybe it's a Moffat interview where he said something about...
He saw the script and it would be apparent when you see the episode. That's what he said.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And I thought that was like, when I had to write something around that in Joy to the World, but it was more so like Russell going, check this out.
I'm going to pinch
I'm going to nick your thing. Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Because I almost thought that meant that Russell had gone, it needs to be a story about a time hotel, because I'm going to use that.
I'm going to use this idea.
But obviously it was a case of him
Russell
going,
Russell says... in one of the behind-the-scenes things, either on YouTube or in Unleashed, that he wanted to do this cliffhanger for ages, but he had no idea how to solve it, naturally, because the Doctor's about to die. Although, thinking about it, wouldn't he just reset back to his bed anyway?
Yeah, so...
Ignoring that.
Yeah.
So Russell wanted to use that cliffhanger for ages. Moffat then wrote that special, and he thought, oh, brilliant, magic door, I can use that to save the Doctor.
Yeah.
That's why the Time Hotel is part of this story. Talking about the Time Hotel, though, my first dive is the future Earth shouldn't exist.
Well, they do reference that, though, right?
Sort of. They just sort of say, oh, everything's a bit funny now because the Earth died 1,000 years ago
but
for
it
us.
Didn't.
But it didn't. But then the Doctor and Belinda throughout this series have gone to the future and no one knows what the Earth is. I don't know. That was confusing.
I think I'd argue that because the Time Hotel is this weird nexus point, it's like...
Yeah, but it's still
an anomaly.
You see an outside shot of London, and London's just fine. So, like,
well,
I don't know.
That's one of those things that I'm happy just to, that's just, it is what it is.
I thought that was the only thing that I noticed, like, straight away whilst watching it. Everything else I didn't think about till afterwards, but while watching it, I thought, but the Earth is dead, and they've mentioned that multiple times in this series.
Because
so
Wishworld is still the Earth.
Correct.
Yes. Because I got confused at one point because the way everyone was talking about it as a separate world, and I was like, but then these characters that
it's
are
sort
all
of
the
an
same
alternate
people.
timeline, because at the start of this series, we're on the regular world on the 23rd, evening of the 23rd, and then by the start of the last episode of the first episode of this story, we're back on the 23rd, which is the same day we left Earth at the start of the series, but it's a different version of Earth.
So Wishworld is kind of...
It's like an alternate
that
thing.
Time, yeah.
But the Time Hotel would be on the original version, which got blown up, right?
But because the Time Hotel is all about jumping into different timelines, I'd argue that makes it kind of... That's its kind of reason for being sort of a weird anomaly, and also, it's kind of there, it's kind of not.
Time Hotel wise, of course, the Doctor lived through 2025 in the Christmas special. So
yeah,
what happened there?
It's
Who knows?
That's one of those things, isn't it? It's wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey.
Is that still a thing?
Well, it isn't. It was mentioned in this episode.
That's why I said.
Yeah. Anyway, is that what Jodie says?
Yes, she says, "Is that still a thing?"
There you go.
And then he says, "Yes, it's still a thing."
Beautiful. So she saves the Doctor, which was very unexpected. We get a few little flashbacks.
I love this little bit.
Can you name me the 3 episodes?
So I listened to Review of Death, and they named them.
Although there goes that. And that was my version of Quiz Chibnall. I tried, Josh. I did try.
They didn't name in Review of Death the chess one, Matt Smith's episode.
You know it.
I remember it happening. It's towards the end of series 6, which is either Good Man Goes to War or the wedding of the Doctor. The Doctor's wedding? Whatever it's called.
Well, which one of those are you going to plump for?
I think it's the second one.
It is the second one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because he's in the green coat, which is also the second half of series 6. See,
that's why they call it live chess.
Yes.
And
I think Matt says in the Review of Death, when they cut to that shot, I thought, oh, that's from that episode where Matt Smith plays chess, and then it cut to Matt Smith, and it literally was.
Yeah, I had that moment. Yeah, because it was
this
weird.
is a weird thing to bring into. This
I feel
episode.
like I was like, saying something to Izzy in that moment because my eyes flicked over. I was like, oh, it's a live chat. Oh, that's the thing. And then Matt's on screen. And I was like, oh, I see. This is the whole.
See what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we get a little bit of clip from Day of the Daleks with the Dalek going past.
Which was that
appearance
Dalek.
Of the Daleks
is the only appearance of the Daleks in the Ncuti Gatwa era. But the Dalek that is in shot when we're looking at Anita was an actual prop that they brought on.
Yeah.
In the Review of Death, they say it's Russell's prop. I don't know if that's true or not.
I think maybe it's the same one they used for the Destination Skaro.
That's my guess.
Yeah, I would say so.
And that was a request by the director because he'd never worked with a Dalek before and he just wanted an excuse to see a Dalek.
Absolutely brilliant.
So that's the whole reason that's there.
And we get a little bit of Rogue as well.
Yes, which is very funny.
Yeah.
So when I don't know if I mentioned, I'm sure I did, when we reviewed the Christmas special, Joy to the World, I almost definitely said, did we? Yeah, we did do an episode on Joy to the World, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. I almost definitely said that I think Anita had a massive crush on the Doctor because I think she did. And then that is then immediately quashed when she sees the Doctor dancing with Rogue. And she immediately goes and gets pregnant with some other man, which I think is really funny.
And I did wonder, I was like, why would you...
Ricardo from HR as well.
Yeah.
He's
HR.
the head of
what
HR.
Are you doing, Ricardo? I did...
It's different in the future.
I did wonder why they made her pregnant because... I was like, was the actor pregnant?
No, she can't have been because in Unleashed she does a little tap dance and she's definitely more able to move than you expect a,
so she probably
a
wasn't.
pregnant lady.
I mean, it ties in the whole theme of babies and
I suppose.
All that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But it also immediately made me go because Izzy was like, she's going to die, and I was like, she's pregnant. She's not going to die. There's no way they'll kill a character who's pregnant. Yeah, so she's our kind of our little plot device.
And I love the running gag that whenever she's referred to, she just goes, "I just work in hospitality.
Yeah,
I'm a hotelier.
I think
I'm not really involved." I thought that was so funny.
Don't bring me into this, please.
I thought it was so funny. Every time it cut to her, it was a laugh every time.
Yeah, she was great. I love her character.
She was my highlight from the Christmas special as well.
She was, yeah, mine too.
So I'm so happy she came back.
Yeah, me too. So really nice to see Anita back. I love the moment when she brings the Doctor back to the weird alternate reality.
There's a bit of ADR where she says we're in Poppy's room now.
There is a bit of ADR, and I need to because I've only watched it the once. I don't know. I just remember noticing it in the episode.
Yeah, so I thought this is what I thought had happened. I'm going to get real nerdy now about the makings of TV. So when I heard that line, I went, "Well, that's ADR. That means they shot all of Anita's bits on the set of the Christmas special 6 months ago in reference to the rest of this story, because she's not there in that shot and she's done a line." So she's obviously not going to be in the rest of this episode. Then she walks onto screen and went, "Oh, okay, that's not at all what happened."
Exact same kind of thing. I was like, "Oh, did they cut her out of the rest of it and they've just had to,
I just thought, it was all shot previously like they did with Rogue. But no, I was completely wrong.
But she goes into that room and then the Doctor has this, I think, a very typical but lovely Russell speech of kind of, I've been to the far future, I've seen the end of the universe, I've seen Satan's, lair. Nice Impossible Astronaut. No, Impossible Planet. That's terrifying.
Yes, Impossible Planet.
Impossible Planet reference. But
I caught that.
There's nothing more special and important than a child.
Having a daughter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And suburban life, which is a very Russell kind of sentiment, and I love the moment when he comes down the stairs and you see him take off his jacket.
Yeah.
And I knew it was going to come, and then boom, he's there in his Doctor costume for the episode.
Yeah, which I'm sure people will say, how did he do that? He did it when 14 regenerated into...
It's Wishworld,
so, it's a wish.
It's the reality's a bit askew.
Yeah.
So.
I thought it was going to be a shot of him tying it round his waist, and then it would just cut to him having this
becoming the outfit. Yeah,
but no, that was I loved it either way.
It's very really clever how it ties in with the pinstripes and stuff.
Exactly, that's why I thought, he's just going to tie it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be a kilt. And then it'll just magically become a kilt. But no, but still, I really enjoyed it.
So interesting as well.
And I love his theme.
Yeah.
Because that was playing at full blast
in that moment.
Yeah. It was really good.
And that costume, when I first saw it, I was like, I'm not too sure about that. But seeing it in use in the episode, the way... This
is a repeat of a costume as well, because he wears it at the start of the series.
Yeah, in Robot Revolution, right? But did he have a jacket on the top of it?
I can't remember that much.
Yeah. I think that's what the red tartan one that we saw at the proms. I think that's the same costume.
At the proms, Children in Need, Comic Relief.
Yeah, San Diego Comic Con, all
Comic-Con,
the
when you shot all of those things in one go.
So but seeing it in action was fantastic, and it's a beautifully shooty costume. I love the use of the incorporation of the kilt and the stripes and everything like that. Really lovely.
Really liked it.
Yeah,
iconic almost.
Yeah, and I think Billy's going to look great in it as well. I can see Billy rocking that outfit.
Yeah,
she's going to look cracking.
Yeah,
we'll
she didn't
talk
wear
about
it
that though,
because she was just composited on top. Anyway,
so the Doctor has come to save the day. They blast the theme, which is great.
Which gets played a lot in this episode, which makes sense. It's his last one,
exactly. And he ends up at Unit Tower, and
they all think it's John Smith, and then they all remember because real time's flowing through the time window.
Anita's opening about 70 doors in there as well.
That's been expanded hugely.
I don't know why no one's introduced Anita to doorstops.
Yeah,
who knows? Or just a little bag, a very heavy bag.
They don't exist in the future.
They don't exist in the future. That's a very good point. I forgot. How could I forget? Doorstops don't do that. So
don't hold doors in place.
And then Ncuti has this brilliant moment, which I was like, that is going to be used in your proms compilations, in your clip compilations for the rest of time. Of him, he has a little roll up to a speech, and he goes, "I'm the Doctor," and it's a definitive.
It is.
Boom.
So this might be controversial, what I'm about to say. I hope not in a bad way. I'm not going to say I hate Ncuti Gatwa or anything.
Please be careful.
This episode, I finally felt he's the Doctor. This was his mega highlight. This was especially in all the scenes from sort of now onwards. I'm thinking he's the Doctor. This is how I want the Doctor to be. He's everything I imagine the Doctor to be. It's perfect. And then, of course,
I think it's always the way that we always feel that with the Doctor's last story, because it's like, well, they've nailed it. They've got it exactly as we want them to be, and it's always the way.
And it's just tragic that his tenure was so short, I think.
In the grand scheme of things,
we'll get to that.
Yeah. Yeah, we will get to that because it was weird actually. As I was driving today, I had this thought. I was like, "Oh my God, Ncuti Gatwa's not the Doctor anymore. I can't believe we're here." Yeah. And someone said they worked out that the distance between his announcement and the giggle was longer than his appearance in the giggle and now.
Yeah,
which
insane
is nuts. You know what? I've just had this moment. I think we've caught this moment on mic. I'm actually really sad that Ncuti's not the Doctor anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I was sad anyway. It's always sad to see a Doctor go, and I always get that pang in my chest when the regeneration's about to happen. I'm like,
hear the noise.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh God, no! I can't believe this is it.
It was.
But
going into it, I sort of thought this could be his last one. I didn't know for sure. I don't think anyone knew.
We all kind of thought this might be it.
Things were leaked and there were rumours about people coming back to play certain characters and blah, blah, blah. But I still went into it thinking, you know what, this might not be the last one. It could all be wrong.
We'll go into this when we talk about it, but there's so many moments when I was like, oh, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of kind of episodes? Shots, just the whole series. There's a lot of moments when I was like, that kind of tells me that no, this is going to be fine. But so
anyway, we're on the bridge of Unit,
and the Rani appears.
No.
Oh,
Belinda meets Unit for the first time,
Unit,
and he says, "This is our daughter."
Yep.
And instead of everyone going, "What?" they go, "Oh." Kate goes. Kate says something really funny, which got a massive laugh in the cinema. She goes, I can't remember exactly what it is, but she says like, "Okay, now I don't believe you," or like, "Oh, this is too far."
This is too far.
Says, this is too far.
Yeah,
which is the reaction that I would have if someone who I'd known for ages suddenly just had a baby.
Especially following the comment last series finale when he's talking about, I don't have a daughter yet.
Yeah, we'll get to that because I've got questions about that thing. He just suddenly says, "I've got a daughter," and everyone's just like, "Oh, that's nice."
Yeah.
Oh, I love
and the Blinks pops up as well.
Yes, the
I love the Blinks.
Out of his box. I love that big.
Can the Blinks
box.
haters just go away? I
like
love the Blinks. I think the Blinks is great.
I do. I agree with Billy Garrett John though. Stop saying the Blinks. What do you think of Links? I don't like that. That's fun. What do you think?
That's
of the
what
Doctor?
the Links wants to be called. Then let the Links be called that. And
I'd like the Links a bit more if he actually did something.
I totally forgot Rose.
Rose appears.
Not that Rose, the
Not
other
that
Rose that we're going to see.
Rose Noble.
Rose Noble appears.
And she doesn't hold an iPad.
She doesn't have an iPad.
Because they don't exist anymore.
I don't think she does anything else, though.
No, she just says hello.
And what I find so mad...
No mention of 14, no mention of Donna.
I found it so mad that we get to the end and she's not...
Is she not there at the end?
She's not there. I mean, great. Look, I love Yasmin Finney. It's great to see
And she was
back,
great in the 60th episodes. Like,
and it was a lovely
I really
moment.
Liked her.
It was a great moment, because it's a lovely poignant moment of the Doctor saying, you know... Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm just confused as to why she's there. And I feel like even just a throwaway line from her saying, like, oh, you know, Dr. 14 is off on Mars fighting some Martians. Donna reference, I don't know, if you want to say Martians, Ice Warriors, then you could be like, okay, that's why he's not here helping out. But no, we get nothing, and he's just, I don't like that. I want to know why he's not helping.
Why? Who's not helping?
14.
14. Oh,
David
sorry.
Especially in this episode, which is all about bi-generation and 2 Ranis. So
I thought you were talking about Morris. I forgot about
Morris
as
also,
well. Morris isn't there.
He's at school. He's doing his own work.
Yeah, 14.
I thought Morris should be in the camp, right? He's on a little scooter.
Yeah, he could have been.
Yeah.
I mean, look, like I say, lovely to see Yasmin Finney, but it would have been nice to see.
We could have even put
do something.
Yasmin in the camp because she's forgotten about, right?
Well, it's the
they
whole
say
point
that
is that
he can't even imagine it.
Yeah,
but surely that's the same thing that he thinks about all the disabled people, right? Because they say they get ignored because they don't get noticed. Isn't that saying?
I think it's a kind of
almost
a comment
the
on
same thing?
Like trans erasure and all that sort of stuff. It's kind of a commentary on that, which I think is, you know, that's a very sci-fi thing, sci-fi way to talk about that issue.
Literally being erased.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
I just think that
she could have had a bit more to do if she was in the camp. That's what I'm thinking.
Or just, you know, something. It kind of felt like Yasmin Finney was like visiting the set, and they were like, "Oh, do you want to be in the scene?"
Yeah. We've got your same
little...
costume that you wore in the last one.
Yeah. That's
exactly
literally what it's about. Oh, we've got that on the rack. We'll just, you know, put you in that. Yeah. Anyway.
Moving on.
The Rani
appears,
pops up.
She teleports in.
Teleporting, coming. Thanks to Links for not blocking that, but sure.
Yeah.
He's here to warn us whenever something happens.
But he doesn't actually,
stop
do anything.
I do love him. So yeah, the Rani gives us a bit of exposition about Omega.
I really like this scene as well now, where we're delving into what her motives are. Omega, Time Lords, the Master's genetic bomb from Jodie's era.
Yeah, it's
all
a lot
of that getting tied in. I'm actually a big fan of this whole sequence. And Ncuti arguing with the Ranis and all of that is also doctory. And something about Ncuti's era it's been quite disconnected from what's come before, despite the fact that they've brought back Sutekh and Omega and the Rani. Sort of like Jodie's first series, where they didn't really mention anything before it. But now with this scene, he's talking about Omega and he's talking about Time Lords and how this happened and that happened, and he's talking about this is the only TARDIS in existence and that, and you know, that I really like, and that's what I imagine the Doctor would do. Yeah, and he's finally doing it. I was very happy with that.
I saw my parents today, and they said, "Oh, we watched it last night," and I was like, "Oh, did you?" And they were like, "Yeah." I mean, we got a bit confused, and then they started talking about genetic. What was it? Genetic and a chronon thing, and I was like, "Look, you've not understood Doctor Who ever since I started watching it. This is no different." It was a good. I think Archie Punjabi is fantastic as the Rani. It's a shame that we didn't see more of the Rani stuff, but that's always a case with the finales. You know, we always get a villain
especially
that kind
with what
of has
they had
to be
do at the end of this episode.
Absolutely,
they had to have time for all of that.
And that kind of has to be like dealt with, you know, a bit sooner rather than later. And we get a little reference with Mel as well. I loved Mel,
who has a perm,
who has her 80s hair back, which is great.
Yeah, I thought when I was watching it, I couldn't exactly tell what had happened, and I saw something afterwards, like clarifying it. But when I was watching it in the cinema, I thought, why does she look so different? What's changed? She's just had a perm on.
That's how the Rani recognises her. She's like,
oh,
I recognise. I have a wig. I have a wig exactly like that.
I have a wig like that. Yeah.
And
I wonder what happened to her TARDIS as well.
That's a good question.
Because the Doctor says it's the only one left.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe the genetic bomb got
I think that's what's implied, yeah. anyway, we get Mrs. Flood as well, the other Rani.
Mm-hmm.
I love how her sort of little speech is cut off by
she's
her just flicking her away.
I felt very bad for her.
Yeah,
she's also the bad guy.
But I think that it's kind of nice that she's been tucked away, and we might get her Rani coming back again at some point.
Nice.
It's kind of, in a way, it's nice that the Rani both got defeated and also got away. They kind of had their cake and ate it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know what I mean?
It's possibly the only benefit of Bi-generation.
So, there was... I sent you this today, because there was a thing that Russell had said that Bi-generation gets either explained or addressed.
Yeah.
And I would say more addressed than explained.
You sent me this, and then you said, did it? I completely missed it. And then I said I wasn't going to tell you. I'll talk about it on the podcast. And then you immediately said what I was going to say. So it's
to do with the genetic.
The genetic bomb or whatever it's called that the Master set off that killed all the Gallifreyans and turned them into Cyber Masters. Well, the bomb didn't do that, but anyway, that killed off all of Gallifrey for the second time. Went off, and it sterilized everyone who didn't die. So that's the Master, the Rani, and the Doctor, I guess. And anyone else.
I have to say, I had this really weird moment where... Do you know about looms and all that sort of stuff?
Yes, so I thought they were going to... I was sat there and I was holding hands with Katie, and it was all lovely and cutesy and whatever. And then they started saying, we can't have children. And I sat up in my chair and I was like, wait, what?
I did the exact same thing. I turned to Izzy, I was like, oh my God, what are they doing? Oh my God, wow.
And then they didn't mention it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought they were going to do looms. They didn't do looms, and then they said they were all sterile. They can't have children anymore, which is why Poppy is so relevant to the story from this point onwards.
But Bi-generation, is that a way of they sort of say maybe that's a way of the species.
She says he thinks it's a way of life force trying to continue itself.
Something like that, yeah.
So essentially, have incest with yourself to make new babies.
I don't think that's quite what they were saying there, Ben. I think that it's
no, because they'd both be sterile, I suppose, so they can't do that.
It's just the thing. I like that line when Rani goes, I think she's asking us to mate.
That was very funny. That got a laugh as well.
That did get a laugh for us as well. I think that it's not so much an explanation, like I say, but it's a way of kind of going, perhaps that's why it happened. Why it happened now. Then again, it could have technically happened for Jodie as well, because that was after the thing. But life finds a way, and that's kind of the why it might have happened. And it still can, like Bi-generation can still be a myth. That's not Russell saying, "Oh no, that's what it is." I think it's him saying, like,
it's still
that
a myth,
could be
he still
why it
know,
happened.
He doesn't know definitively why it happened, but he thinks that's why it's happened.
Yeah,
and it sort of makes sense as well if you think about it like that.
Exactly. I mean, there's big universal things that scientists can't explain because they just are so friggin' weird.
Exactly.
So it's a similar kind of thing. And the Rani's spliced her DNA,
so she didn't get affected by the bomb.
Yeah.
But then why didn't the Doctor get affected? Because if the Rani had to do something despite not being on
one
Gallifrey,
could argue that the Master, because the Master was the one who did it, made sure that the Doctor wasn't affected to make a point, because otherwise if he's like, I'm going to kill all the Time Lords including the Doctor, oh wait,
who do I
gloat to? So we get the big old confrontation, and before we know it, it's war. It's war.
It's
on
a real T-war.
It's a real T-war, real estate war, and
with the bone people,
with the bone beasts,
which I thought really should have just been Reapers. To be completely honest.
You mean like the Reapers from
Series 1?
Interesting, yeah.
The moment she said he said they feed on broken timelines, atoms created by...
Oh, I didn't catch that, right.
Oh, they should have been bloody Reapers. I thought that would have been a really nice callback, especially with a good CGI budget as well, which they have. But no, the Bone Beasts.
I think it's they're obviously like a Rani experiment, which is nice again.
No, I think she says that it's implied that they're natural.
Oh, really?
From when timelines create friction, they generate atoms. That's what he said.
So it's another beast that she's commandeered, a bit like those clone things, which are freaky, kind of Hellraiser type
really cool
things. Would have liked to seen a bit more. I almost thought they were going to become something to do with Omega or something like that, like get possessed or I don't know. They was very creepy when they were kind of repeating Omega.
Yes, yeah. I liked them.
Great creation. I'd love those to come back at the prop store at some point later down the line because they're really cool. Yes, the unit goes to war. The tower is this big turret thing.
Yeah,
it felt, watching that on the big screen, it was like, this is like a Marvel movie. It's,
it had a scale on the big screen. Watching it at home, I mean, I'd already seen it, so I sort of already had that image in my head. But watching it at home, I'd not be surprised if people didn't like it as much.
Sure.
Because it was not on a massive screen. It felt like a big cinema thing. And I feel like watching that not in a cinema, it might not have had the same effect. Also, talking about the cinema, the sound mixing was so much better than last year.
Was it
very brief?
I can't
tangent.
remember how bad the mixing was last year.
Last year, it just sounded almost mono coming from directly in front, directly behind the screen. In the showing I went to, it almost felt surround. Almost.
It
wasn't.
Never
anyway,
quite perfect.
Sorry, tangent.
And the Doctor goes to town riding on his little the Ranis device
scooter thing, with his theme blaring again.
I have something as well. I think I'm starting to backtrack on my opinion on the sonic screwdriver because I quite like it now.
Oh, I see. I didn't realise you didn't like it.
Well,
you mean the design of his sonic screwdriver?
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of it when it...
The Sky TV remote.
Yeah, there you go. Because it wasn't what I know as a sonic screwdriver.
Yes. It's not my favourite, still. I
wouldn't say it's my favourite, but...
I quite like the Ranis one.
Ranis is great.
Why she's got one, I don't know, but I quite like it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty... The way Ncuti uses it, I think, sells me on it. It's pretty good.
Upside down.
Yeah. Have you got one?
No. Have you?
I think I might get one.
Wow. They were in Forbidden Planet. Last time I went in a couple of weeks ago, they had them.
How much?
I couldn't tell you.
Not good. Okay.
Probably 20 quid.
20 quid's not bad.
Yeah. They used to go for a tenner.
I heard someone in my screening with the sonic screwdriver.
I did as well, and I thought they were going to keep doing it the whole... They didn't,
yeah.
thank God.
No.
But it was just before it all started, I heard a sonic, and I thought, God, that's going to get really annoying. It didn't happen.
Izzy has ADHD.
You didn't go to this one here, did you?
No, we went to the Trafford Centre.
Oh yeah, you went to an Odeon. We talked about that.
But yeah, so this person was clicking and fiddling with it, and yeah, Izzy was getting proper sensory overload with it. To the point, and as well, in the moment in between when everyone's waiting, because there's no countdown, everyone's constantly whispering because it's not like we know how long. Like it could happen at any moment.
The lights were on in mine, so the lights didn't go off until the title sequence for the.
But everyone was there whispering, and Izzy was like, "I cannot stand this." It's just people. It's absolutely awful.
Where were we? Scooter.
The Doctor smashed through the window a la The End of Time. I almost thought Ncuti was going to be cut and bruised. And...
When that was the moment, I thought, okay, he's regenerating. I thought that was going to be the inciting regeneration.
So did I.
Point.
Again, I had that
like
thought.
In The End of Time.
Yeah, you're kind of constantly having these moments of, oh, is that the thing that does it? Oh, is that the thing that does it?
Especially because when he's on the floor, he says... that hurts or ouch or something like that, and he's quite clearly in pain.
And it would have been good to have a few cuts and bruises, a bit like the 10th Doctor, in that moment. He could
have carried them through the story as well.
Be a bit more battle scarred maybe.
Nothing.
But we get that, so that moment is then in tandem with Ruby using Project Indigo. Nice little reference.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah.
I do question why they said never press the yellow button and then she presses it and she's fine.
Did they say never press it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She says you'll be fine as long as you never press the yellow button.
And she does it.
Is it, I think, thinking about it, does the yellow button just push you back 5 meters? Because is that what she then presses to get the baby?
Yeah, she does the same thing to get
because I thought she just pressed the button because Project Indigo takes you where you want to go, right? That's the whole idea. That's what Martha said, because that's why she goes to her mum in Series 4. So... my guess was she presses it again. She wants to go to baby. She goes to baby. But maybe she presses the yellow button, which pushes her 5 meters, which is where the baby is. And that was a setup for
yards.
That
maybe it's
not that far.
She just appears outside the palace. Oh, crap. And also, Belinda is in the box, in the cupboard.
Belinda gets shut up and put away.
It is the one thought that I was a bit like, okay, I can see that that makes sense for her character. Like, that is her daughter. Why the hell would you leave your daughter?
Yeah, I thought it was strange that the Doctor was saying, "Let's put this child in this box alone." Yeah, potentially forever,
for eternity, right? But it did feel a bit like, we're going to have to
get
put
rid of her
Belinda
for
in
a
there.
bit. Yeah.
There's a lot of characters, and I get.
And there's a lot.
I think you need that volume of characters to sort of do what this episode's doing and be the big bombastic finale. Because the smaller, the more contained you make it, the less it would feel a bit like, well, why is it such a big scale? We've only got like 4 people. Well, you need a bigger ensemble cast. But
there's
it
also,
does suffer by doing that.
There's a lot of people who say, and no one knows how true this may be, but there's a lot of people, of course, who say that Millie Gibson was fired and she wasn't meant to be in the second series, and it was all originally written about Ruby Sunday, and then they had to bring Belinda in and all that. And I didn't really believe any of that, because I think it all worked and it all makes sense until that exact moment where they just put Belinda in a box and say, just sit over there and don't be part of the story.
But I am very confused as to how different it would have been.
It would have had to be really different.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah.
So
I don't think that was really ever the case. But then in that moment, I thought, oh, maybe that was true. But I don't know. We'll never know.
We will never know.
We'll never know how true that is.
We basically get scenes in tandem of the Doctor and the Ranis releasing Omega.
Oh, and there's a really funny. Sorry,
Ruby
just quickly.
Conrad.
There's a very funny moment when the Doctor's on the scooter and his theme is blaring really loud, da 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 da, and it cuts to Belinda in the box and there's dead silence.
Oh yeah,
that got a laugh. It was just da 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 da.
Dead silence.
It was so funny. Anyway, back to the Rani.
Oh, the
Bone
Poppy
Palace.
is just the cutest baby as well. Yeah. It's so sweet and really lovely performance. I'm sure.
Really good actor as well. In all the behind the scene clips, she's perfect. She's really good.
Either she was really great, or they've done a great job of making it seem like she was great to work with. Because I'm sure it's a nightmare working with toddlers. But yes, so we get the 2 scenes in tandem. I love the kind of curiosity of the Doctor in the sense of it's similar kind of thing into the moment in the well when he's like, I've got to see this creature.
Yes.
He the Rani's like, Omega. Don't you want to do this? And he's like, yeah, I kind of do. Yeah. And I almost thought like, oh, is this part of his plan? It didn't quite pan out that way. And then we get. Now I didn't think we would see Omega. As soon as she said the tomb of Omega, I was like,
it's like the tomb of Rassilon.
Yeah, and there's gonna and then the thing is, it's gonna open up. There's gonna be nothing in there. The Rani's gonna be like, and then the Doctor's gonna be like, you were wishing for a miracle and you've got nothing, or something like that.
I kind of thought
no, we did see something.
I kind of thought her plan would succeed and they would bring the Time Lords back. I thought
and the Doctor wouldn't defeat her, but it would just
Yeah, so I thought obviously the Rani wanted to bring them back in her own image, and I thought the Doctor would somehow co-opt that and make them good Time Lords or something. But no, that obviously doesn't happen. But I thought that could have been a nice way to bring them back
certainly
again.
An interesting way. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, we see Omega. He's not got a massive crab claw. For those, I don't know if you know anything about that rumor. No. So you don't have Twitter anymore. There was this rumor going around that Omega, because we knew those of us who saw the leaks, and I did read them originally, and I don't think I remember what most of them were. But one of them apparently was Omega would come back as a massive CGI monster with a crab claw instead of a hand.
Well,
and
like
I don't
Morbius.
know. I have no idea where that came from or what that was for or who. Even it doesn't happen. He's not got one. But the entire time I was like, don't have a massive crab claw. Don't have a big crab claw. He didn't. I was so happy.
He instead
big baby.
Yeah, crawling and
it's a big crawling
puking
toddler.
and mewling. So it was a very interesting moment because as soon as that hand came out, initially I had this really weird thought. I was like, are they doing Sutek again? Because it genuinely looked like a Sutek.
It looked a bit sort of like a dog hand.
Yeah, in a weird way. It looked like spindly and
And it's sort of it wasn't Gabriel Wolf. It was Nick Briggs. But I thought it was the same voice as well. I thought they brought
same booming
Gabriel
kind
Wolf
of
back to do the voice for this as well.
Well, because they used an archive clip of Stephen Thorne, who played the original Omega from a Big Finish play. Yeah. For the cliffhanger.
I don't really understand. Was that diegetic or was that just the Doctor remembering Omega?
Yeah, was it Omega shouting from the underworld, being like, I'm coming,
but with a different voice.
Yeah.
Who knows?
We'll never know. But no, so Nick Briggs is another incarnation of Omega, technically, and Omega in its time in the Underverse has sort of gradually elevated
to an almost godlike.
Yeah.
So he lives in a place of legend, is what the Doctor says.
Yeah.
And he has become his own legend, which is massive dead baby monster.
Which was
the
creepy.
Original sin.
It's
It
a
was
very
really
scary
scary.
thing. Again,
Yeah.
this series has had some very scary visuals. I would be interested to see what younger kids, the sort of target audience of Doctor Who, would have made of these sort of
know
things.
Any younger kids. Do you?
Well, you say that. There was quite a few kids at the screening.
Really?
Yeah.
There were none at mine.
Really?
It was all 20-year-olds.
Wow, there was a few kids at the one that I went to.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe Odeon's more child friendly. Who knows?
knows?
But yeah,
It was really busy, mine. There were 2 screens and they were both full.
2 screens of it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when we all left at the same time, and I forgot there was another one, and there was like the whole crowd, the whole corridor was just full of people in Doctor Who costumes.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, Omega. Obviously, people are going to be sort of saying like, oh, well, who's barely in it, who's defeated, what a wasted opportunity. I mean, to me, it was never, oh my God, Omega's coming back.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Omega's the big villain. Omega is purely like, to me, it's just another. It could have been anything in terms of like, Russell's, like it could have been the Could Have Been King and his army of meanwhiles and never was. It could have been what's the Time War thing of the child, the Nightmare Child.
Yes.
In fact,
The Jaws of
great.
the Nightmare
If they
Child.
called that the Nightmare Child, I mean, there you go.
Yeah,
amazing.
You've suddenly tied a couple.
Yeah. It for all intents and purposes, it could have been anything. It was just, here is a sort of a big MacGuffin that the Ranis trying to bring back, and backfires massively to the point where one of herself gets killed and the other one, has to run off. So I don't think that
the problem.
I don't think it bothers me in that sense.
Yeah, so I'm not bothered about Omega only being there for 2 minutes. I understand CGI budgets are expensive and they'd have to pay a lot of money for him, which is also why Sutek wasn't in a lot of Empire of Death last year, I would assume. My problem, and it's not really a big problem, but my problem, the thing I'm more annoyed about is the Rani 2, the second Rani.
Yeah.
Just sort of being eaten. Like, there's no fight is put up. It just sort of, there you go, I'm going to eat you now. And that's it. That's the resolution of the entire plot, basically.
It is a shame because she was so good.
Yeah.
I'd love it if they found a way for her to come back, but I don't know.
Big Finish.
Yeah.
There's
absolutely.
gaps between the Interstellar Song Contest and Wishworld.
That's the
you
kind
can
of
fit them in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's Doctor Who. They'll always.
She has to
be.
get that leather coat from somewhere. She doesn't just appear.
Yeah, she's
well,
going to have a
Time Lords can do that now,
a whole episode of her just making that coat.
Exactly.
So yes, and the Doctor defeats Sutek using the Vindicator. So
yes, someone you said earlier about the sonic screwdriver being redesigned, right? So the whole reason that was done is so it didn't look like a gun, so it was less violent. The Doctor then defeats not Sutek. He then defeats Omega with a massive gun, which I thought was
kind
so
of a proton
funny.
pack, like Ghostbusters.
Yeah, with the
style.
power of 100 supernovas or whatever it was, 1 billion supernovas.
Which, to be fair, is set up in.
It is set up, which is very good, but also it's quite funny that he just is the whole reason the Sonic looks different, doesn't look like a gun.
Yeah,
and then he defeats him with a massive gun. I thought that was funny.
Yeah. And Omega is sealed away in the Underverse again,
possibly forever.
He's
not. He doesn't seem dead.
He's not dead.
No.
And given that it's so Omega is so flexible in that he's never looked the same when he's come back. In both his appearances in previous Doctor Who stories, he's looked different. So
I read somewhere or I heard somewhere he took the Fifth Doctor's appearance at one point?
In Arc of Infinity.
So people were saying that he'd come back in this one and Peter Davison would be Omega, which I thought would be very good.
Very interesting. I mean,
it'd be so many.
I have to say it would have been, I think, even creepier if it was this emaciated kind of humanoid figure.
Yeah.
Kind of creeping out
for the episode.
There you go.
Good.
That's the pop shield there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been even sort of creepier if it was that. Maybe that's pushing it too far, though.
Yeah.
Maybe a big sort of weird skeleton baby monster is less gonna, cause complaints than the weird husk of a man.
Who sounds like Peter Davison.
What am I doing here? Adric? I think yeah, it's kind of a thing with these finales. You know, you've got to defeat the villain. I should say regeneration stories, because you defeat the villain and then you dedicate the rest of the time, at least in the modern day stories, you can dedicate the rest of the time to tying up loose ends.
So,
or, you know,
at this point
goodbye.
of the episode that we're at, I checked when I was rewatching it, is the 38-minute mark.
Of a 68-minute episode?
Yes, so there's 30 minutes left.
I'm surprised. I thought it was sooner than that. I would have said 20 minutes.
So when I was watching it in the cinema originally, I thought, at this moment, I was like, okay, this kind of feels like the end of the story. It feels like it's been about 40 minutes. It was 38 minutes. I was pretty close. So we're going to have to wrap it up pretty soon. But of course, it's a feature-length, almost feature-length episode, so it carries on. And it almost feels like a whole new story from this point on, I feel like.
It's interesting in that, so that Ruby meets Conrad, kind of talks him round. I had a moment when I was like, this is really interesting, because his character is a horrible person, horrible views, and yet she forgives him. And I was like, is that good? But then I was like, I think at the end of the day, you're making the point that you've got to be the bigger person and say, look, you know, I'm going to be better than you and not do what you would do in this position. You know, he's there with a gun, she's there with love. Lovey-dovey. I love that stuff. Anyway.
As the Rani says, love is the answer, or love will save.
I thought you were going to say, as the Rani says, I would. What did she say? I would turn you on your side and serve olives off
your dimples.
Yeah.
Which ones?
So anyway, Ruby ends the wish and wishes that Conrad was happy. And you're right. It kind of feels like we're starting to wrap things up, and it sort of seems almost like, I'm trying to think of another episode which this is like, maybe End of Time, in that there's numerous kind of endings.
Yeah.
It feels like that's kind of one ending, and then there's the sort of the moment when Poppy disappears, which feels like, is that a really sort of melancholy ending? And then there's the Doctor in the garden with Belinda, and then there's a regeneration. You know, it feels like there's constantly kind of like, it could be the ending. Who knows if the reshoots thing is to be believed or not?
We'll get to that.
Yeah, maybe this was originally going to be a 45-minute thing, and the reshoots are.
I would assume it would have been.
Because how long was Empire of Death?
45 minutes.
Was it really?
Sure. I'll double check.
Because I wasn't sure whether that was an hour long or not.
I don't remember it being.
We were talking about this the other day about episodes that are actually longer than you remember.
I didn't realise how long Journey's End was.
Isn't Journey's End like an hour and 15 minutes or something ridiculous?
Yeah, hang on, I'm just pulling up the iPlayer app.
That's a good.
How long last season? Keep waffling.
So we're in units. Poppy and Belinda are okay. They're fine.
54 minutes, Empire of Death. So it was longer.
So it was longer. Poppy and Belinda are... we've got more of our money's worth this time around then, obviously.
Yeah.
They're okay. Big celebration time. The world is sort of being put to rights. The baby gets given to Ruby's mum, and... you get a little bye from Cherry Sunday as well.
Yeah, Joe Sunday, lovely little
Joe Sunday. That's it.
His name, Joseph Sunday. She's a lovely little.
I'm assuming that his powers have been
diminished. The doctor says
or...
no more wishes, so I think his wish is to stop the wishes.
There you go. Right, good. Yeah. So it's just a note. Thank God for that.
The thing, when I saw it yesterday, I was with Katie and her friend Tom, and Tom said to me, it was a bit strange that they couldn't figure out where the baby was from, when the baby was from, right? Because I know obviously they weren't there, so they don't technically know when the baby was from. But like the family presumably are now no longer ducks and petals and an owl, but they are still missing a child.
Yeah, I don't quite know. Yeah, it's thematically it kind of ties into the whole foundling thing.
Yeah,
right?
I get that, but also like,
I mean, I don't think that never happened, right? They're still like the Rani still did that to that family.
Yeah, but then they undid the wishes when Ruby undid the wishes. I think she undid all wishes.
Of course, yes, because that reverses it all. Good point. So that poor family.
Yeah, they just
seven sons. I mean,
they've got 7. They've already got 6 sons.
Yeah,
so.
They've got enough to keep themselves busy.
Yeah.
Maybe it corrected things, and they'll never know. How sad.
Universe. 1 degree, whatever.
So the Doctor has a daughter now, and then they're in the TARDIS, and I genuinely had a moment when I was like,
oh, this is the new dynamic.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah. This is, well,
I was kind of thinking, I don't like this. I don't want this to be a permanent thing.
I'll be honest, I had that as well. I mean, I know, I think change is needed.
I don't mind changes to the status quo, but that's a big change.
It's a big change because that is a very different kind of, the Doctor is travelling around for a very different reason with very different intentions.
Yeah.
But that very quickly doesn't become the case. How soon did you twig about the coat thing? I think I twigged immediately as soon as she was like, "Oh, it's quite."
I didn't get it
hot in
straight. Here. Oh well, when they mentioned the temperature, I thought that's a bit odd, and they're pointing it out, so it must be for something. But then I don't think that. I think that was just the TARDIS thinking, "Oh, as a baby, I'm going to be a bit nice."
Well, I think as soon as she took the coat off, I was like, "They've made such a big thing of that. That's got to be that Poppy's going to disappear now."
Oh, I see where you're coming from. Yeah, okay. But it was when they started folding it, I thought, you folded this a few, I was thinking I was literally thinking you can only fold a piece of paper 7 times or 6 times, and you can't do it 7, whatever that rule is. And I thought, no, still fold it. Oh, okay. Oh, I see what's happening. And then Katie grabbed my arm, and I think she got it just before I did. And she literally gasped and grabbed my arm. And went, oh my God. And I suddenly was like, oh, I see.
It's a really nicely done moment, and in terms of the dialogue in that moment, how that's transitioning as well, from talking
taking
about
Poppy somewhere,
to just where are we going to go next? Quite harrowing, and seeing Ruby's reaction as well. Remembering
something
that
I didn't like, and I think it was intentional, was the Doctor's attitude to Ruby. Instead of
the way they laugh it off,
and then the Doctor even sort of, he's looking at doesn't even look at Ruby and say, "No, I think your memory must have gone wrong." He doesn't even think for a second that his best friend, I think, at this moment in time, is saying something, and she's clearly distressed, and he just goes, "No, you're wrong." That's so undoctory for me. But I think that's deliberate. I think that's to then cause the next scene when they're back in unit, to cause that to all happen,
spiral off.
It was it suddenly felt like, oh my God, he's been so horrible to her.
And I think in that moment, part of you might think, does the Doctor,
does he know,
realise that's happened, and he's going to wait for Belinda to leave and then say to Ruby, "Yep, I know,"
which I could see happening. That's quite sort of Moffat-y almost, That's series 5 when Rory gets deleted from the universe. Amy forgets, the Doctor remembers. It's the same dynamic but reversed. Because if it's important to your life, which I assume Poppy would be to the Doctor, you would then forget because it's too much for you to handle. It's exactly the same rules. Yeah, exactly. Which I actually really appreciated.
Yeah, no,
they kept that continuity.
But the world is still a bit askew, and
teal is too blue.
Teal's too blue, and there's a border of a country that's in a weird place or something like that.
Yes, and there's an actor who I didn't know who the hell they were talking about, and I googled. He's a real person, American guy. I can't remember his name. Died in 2012, so he's had a really good run.
Wow, there you go.
An extra 12 years.
Yeah,
13.
So Ruby makes a case though, and the Doctor kind of has this. So again, another moment
he's quite reluctant to almost believe them.
But when Ruby ends up convincing them, the Doctor has a moment when he's like, "Oh my God, I need to find this child," and that was a moment when I was like. I wasn't looking at my watch, but I was like, maybe this is the end of the episode, and maybe Ncuti isn't going to go.
I was
because
thinking the same
it was like
thing.
a kind of and there's our series 3. The Doctor is going to find Poppy
on his own.
Yeah, which I guess that's
a bit of a telltale sign.
But in that moment, I don't think I was probably thinking
I wasn't
straight.
thinking that. Yeah.
So off he goes, and.
Last Time Lord in existence, or whatever.
Yeah.
Last the Time Lords, that's what he says.
Quite a poignant moment of him looking back at everyone. I have to say, I wasn't really a fan of Kate's line, about...
What did she say?
About, I think we're all your children.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it quite landed as well as it could have done.
Mm-hmm. Have you watched The Flash, the CW American...
No, I'm aware of it.
So that in... One of their more controversial... This is about when I stopped watching this program.
Right.
There was a very controversial arc where they create these sort of fourth dimensional monster things, but they refer to them as their children, right? The Flash and his girlfriend or wife, possibly at the time. They say, there are kids, and then these adult people who are the manifestations of alien whatevers are referring to them as mum and dad. And it's really weird and really awkward. And I kind of got an inkling of that throughout this episode, but at that point as well. And I was thinking, like, please, everyone, stop calling them mum and dad.
I almost thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be this weird thing of like the Doctor being like, my DNA exploded over the reality, and I gave birth to the universe, or some. Yeah, I shouldn't. Yeah,
it's a weird way of saying it, Miles.
Yeah, we need to get what's that little robot from Robo Revolution?
Polish.
Get him along. So, yes, anyway, the Doctor goes off in the TARDIS and starts to talk about things in this quite grandiose way. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly my whole opinion of like, oh, I guess Ncuti's fine then, I guess he's not going, disappears because he starts going, I really like
this face.
Oh, and I was like, that's the first moment in the whole episode that I suddenly went, oh my God, he's going. And I got this weird pang in my chest of, you're joking, what?
And on that moment, before we say anything else, it was so nice, even though we sort of half knew it was going to happen, to actually get a surprise regeneration.
Yes.
We've never had this, as far as I'm aware.
Well, so in Power of the Doctor, we knew Jodie was going,
but we didn't know who it was
going to be. I mean,
even though we'd
heard rumours,
and we'd seen people on set. And whatever.
Sure,
but this was the first time that
they've not advertised.
We didn't know that he was going. We didn't know who was coming in. We didn't know what this story, how it was going to end. We didn't know anything. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, I suddenly thought, I was really excited. I thought, oh my God, they're doing it.
You get that weird tingles.
And I knew that there were rumours of who it was going to be, and they ended up being true. But I thought in that moment, like, I know that that's an option. I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought that's a crazy rumour.
But either way, I think So
I knew it was coming, and I thought, oh my God, this could be anyone. Mm-hmm. This could be like huge.
And yet there was a moment that I suddenly went, oh no, maybe it's just finale talk in the sense of the Doctor being like, I'm going to die, and then
he'll die in a season's time,
or just like, oh no, it was all right in the end.
Yeah.
But no, the TARDIS starts flashing on a load of different faces on the screen, and then we hear a familiar voice.
My God,
it's Jodie friggin' Whittaker.
Crazy.
The cinema. I think there was no oxygen in the room for about 5 seconds because everyone inhaled. And went,
so, again, like I said earlier, I was holding Katie's hand and then I shot up when they thought they were going to start talking about looms. I shot up even further when I heard that voice and then saw her.
It was crackers.
I was so surprised. And I'm sure that there's people who are saying it's horrible and Jodie Whittaker was bad and blah, blah, blah. I was so excited to see her back.
I think she's marvellous. Yeah. I love her. And seeing her back was just so weirdly thrilling and bizarre. It felt so heartwarming. She's so lovely. Her Doctor is so lovely. And in that moment, I was just like, how gorgeous. I don't quite know, because I've only watched it once, and I was in this weird state of, oh my God, it's Jodie Whittaker. I don't actually know. She was plucked out of her time stream or something like that. I don't know why.
So she says cause and effect are in the wrong order because of what the Doctor is about to do,
right?
Which is rewrite the timeline by shifting it 1 degree or 2 degrees, I guess, if you're going back the other way, because it's still different afterwards. But she's been pulled out of her timeline because cause and effect are the wrong way around. Mm-hmm. So the time vortex, whatever, has moved her.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's a great moment.
Now, and it was brilliant. Now, I had this really weird moment, though. My heart was going through this scene because I had a weird pang that I was like, are they going to turn... she's going to have a few lines and then they're going to turn around and then...
Is someone else going to be there?
There's Matt on the wall.
I thought
and there's David popping up being like, hello!
There was such a funny line when he says, oh, it's you. I thought it was going to be that guy who turns up all the time, which is Tennant.
I see, I didn't even twig that because my brain was just in overdrive.
It was... I can't remember the delivery, but he said, oh, it's you. I thought... at least it's not that guy who turns up all the time, which is such a good line, which is also possibly
brilliant. It was a gorgeous scene. Jodie, I loved just the little things, like the little technobabble, like I hope you can remember to fold your retrofold and flip it 3 times.
I kind of wish
all that sort of stuff.
This is the action figure nerd in me, but I kind of wish she was wearing the dark blue coat because then that would canonize that coat. Because in every appearance that she wears that, it's like a Mindscape thing. She was. She says it in Unleashed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I
was like, your hair has not looked like that since she played the Doctor.
Yeah, exactly. She's wearing a wig, and she says that she's got long brown hair underneath the wig.
Imagine that, long
and
brown
she also
hair
said
Jodie.
She also said that she was actually on another job at the time, and she had to sneak off and do Doctor Who. So that other job had no idea. I don't know how she got out of it. Were
you aware of Jodie popping up? Had you heard anything?
So,
I'd heard nothing.
So
I've avoided all the rumours so far.
So
anyway.
I think I read the leaks when they first came out. I don't know if I read them all the way. I think I might have read half of them and then gone whatever, because I didn't probably believe them. But I had no inkling whatsoever that Jodie was coming back. What they did say when Billy's appearance was leaked was they didn't actually name Billy, from what I understand. I didn't see this. I just heard. They said that
someone has mentioned this to me in retrospect.
A familiar blonde face was going to come back. So when Jodie appeared, I thought, oh, that's what that was. So so when he does regenerate, it could be anyone. And I was suddenly like, oh my God, I'm so excited, because that's who the blonde person is. Yeah. It's Jodie.
I did have that at the end of the episode. I was like, it's so bizarre that we've had two familiar blonde faces from the past of Doctor Who come back.
And then, of course, she says all those fun technobabble lines, which she says in behind the scenes she was really worried about one specific
and you see her
line.
mess it up like 3 times.
And then at the very end he says to the 13, I love you. And then she says, rather awkwardly, as 13 tends to do, oh, I don't normally say things like that. I should say that to Yaz. And they canonise Thasmin.
We already knew it was a thing, but officially...
I don't know if the Doctor ever reciprocated feelings, did she? At the end of
I think she sort of says something along the lines of like, I would love to, but I can't do that.
But it's kind of kept a bit, from what I remember, maybe I'm wrong, it's kept a bit vague. Yeah. But in this, it outright says, I should say that to Yaz, that means she does love her.
She loves her, yeah.
So I'm sure that there's half the fan base who love that, half the fan base who hate that.
Are they called Thazzies?
I know it's Thasmin.
Thasmins,
name. Well, I'm fine with Thasmin. I've no problem with that.
I'm sure they absolutely loved it, and quite right too. And I think there's something quite nice about, again, it's kind of harkening back to the giggle in the Doctor. Very good.
I hate how the baby did that in part 1, so that's just come into my head.
Well, it is the legions of the Toymaker, you know.
Yeah, but
legions
how does
are
it
coming
know
in
it's a baby?
Oh
no, it's part 2 it does that.
It's a baby it's a baby that grants wishes.
Yeah, okay,
it can laugh if it wants to.
Whatever.
But I like the fact that in the giggle, the whole... the thing that really I love is the 15th Doctor turning around to the 14th and going, I've got you. And then it's a great thing about self-care and self-love. And here's a Doctor who can do that. And he tells that to this other Doctor. Sort of in a similar way to in Time Crash when the 10th Doctor goes, oh, I loved being you. Yeah. But it's like, this is the Doctor explicitly going, I like myself. And I'm going to actually tell that to myself. To a self who's probably, struggling a bit because she can't express those things.
Presumably she's somewhere between the beginning of Flux and the end of her tenure.
Could be in Power of the Doctor. It might have been there's probably a moment that someone can work out where she could have been
We'll need to look at her costume and see when she was wearing that exact top one, with that thing. And
it's so brilliant to see her in that costume, in that TARDIS as well.
There's a picture of her on that set, a promo.
She looked perfect.
Stunt, and it looks like that's she's on.
I loved her. In
it's
that
almost
TARDIS.
Identical to one of David's first pictures on that set as well, which is really nice.
We're collecting pictures of these Doctors.
I know. Something I noticed is something I figured out this morning. Russell has now written for all but one New Who Doctor.
Now let me try and work out who it is. So he wrote for Matt in the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Yeah, he obviously wrote for Chris and David in there.
So the only one is... Are we classing the War Doctor as a Doctor?
I wasn't in my head. So okay, maybe there's two.
So technically, the 12th Doctor is the only one.
It's the 12th Doctor, yeah.
Wow.
And technically, you could say the Fugitive because we don't exactly know who wrote the Fugitive into the story in the engine. Even though I don't think it's a...
Is it in Newer Elements or...
I don't know if I don't think it's credited to both of them, that story.
I think it's just a Newer Elements for that
but
story.
I don't think he would have brought her in.
Sure.
I think that would have been
he might
Russell.
have had it suggested by Russell. Who knows, yeah.
So technically you might be able to count her, but we don't know for sure. But yeah, basically...
Still,
which is insane. Look, he's written for all
and he wrote it really well. I thought it was a great scene.
It feels very natural for her.
I know that a lot of people have issue with a Doctor being overshadowed by a predecessor in their regeneration story.
Yeah.
But
which of course happened to Jodie as well.
To a degree, well, yeah.
By more Doctors.
Yeah,
it
by
wasn't,
about
yeah.
eight of the buggers.
And it's also nice that 13 is sort of handing over to 15.
That's the thing. I think I quite
we didn't
like
get
that
with David sort of jumping in the middle.
I think I heard Billy Garrett John say this, that it's kind of like an unofficial, like, we love the 14th Doctor, obviously. It's brilliant. But like, this is a kind of official kind of this Doctor to the next new Doctor, here you go.
Yeah. Exactly.
Who knows whether we'll get Ncuti back one day to sort of address that.
He does say at the end
Doctor.
of the YouTube behind the scenes, like, I'm happy to come back.
Something
along those lines. Whether he will or not is a whole different matter. But, He seems to be happy with the idea of it.
I mean, look, he's busy.
I don't think he's ever going to
do
Big Finish, though.
He's a very busy man.
Technically, he can do Big Finish now, right?
Yeah,
because his era's over.
I suppose so.
That's how it works, isn't it?
That's how it works.
That's the contract.
That's officially how it works. So anyway,
maybe Disney might have something to say about that.
Yeah, who knows? The Doctor does what he does to the TARDIS. I thought that they were going to blow up the set, and I was like, "You're joking! No. You're not going to get rid of this."
We know. So we knew, because literally last week they invited a load of influencers onto that set. So we know the set is still standing. Yeah.
But I had a moment where I was like, are they going to sort of end of time this thing and blow it up?
I thought they would do it inside at least, even if it didn't blow up. But but it was nice how he did it on with the doors open with Joy.
Oh yeah, but I'm meaning the moment when he's breaking reality
that
apart.
Moment. Yeah. So sorry, we're not even there.
I know.
Yet.
Yeah,
There's
we've
a whole
got a
bit still.
whole more bit. So he does that. The screen cracks, and I thought, are we going to get a fourth wall break?
I thought that, and then I also thought, I'm in a cinema. It's not a glass screen. I literally thought this would be better if I was at home.
It would make more sense. But I guess it's just a symbol for reality.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what that moment.
And he ends up in the garden, and I thought, are we going to get another weird Doctor
I thought
appearance?
we were going to see 14 in that moment.
Yes, in the garden.
Because they sort of insinuate in the giggle that 14 will eventually come back to join and they'd be one being again. Which I think when the Rani dies earlier in this story, it sort of disputes how that bi-generation works. I don't know. Maybe he is the curator. I hope he's the curator.
That'd be a very clever way to do it.
Tom
Yeah.
Baker. Anyway, different. So that doesn't happen. We see Belinda again, and we get the kind of the resolution to her companion arc. Now, whether this was the original intention, whether Vadasethu was going to be continuing into a future season, whether this was always going to be her one season and this is just a new ending for her character, who knows? Or maybe this was always the way it was going to end. But I actually think that it's a very unique way for a companion to end. It's a very neat way of tying things up. I think that the idea of she was always desperate to go home and we never quite knew why. And now we know the reason why. Even if it's because the universe has been a bit rewritten, almost.
Sure. But it kind of it's like there was always a nagging. It's almost like there was always a nagging feeling in her. At the start of the series, and now she knows why.
Fans were speculating: why does she need to go back? Is she the Rani? Is she this? Is she a Time Lord? Why does she know what a TARDIS is? That still hasn't been answered. But
it makes sense.
Now we finally know why she wanted to get home so badly.
Because Poppy is her real daughter.
Yeah. And they show us scenes from every episode where she says, I've got to get back for Poppy. I'm ever going to see my daughter again. That kind of stuff, which is really nice.
Yeah, it cleverly sort of done. It's kind of like in those flashbacks, the Doctor is it's the Doctor's sort of memory being rewritten, or maybe the Doctor just seeing those different timelines because that's how the Doctor sees things. And we see her mum again, which was very nice. I thought the interaction was lovely and sweet. Very sort of real Russell T Davies kind of, Manchester gets a name track as well.
That got a cheer in the cinema.
As you do.
Because we're in Manchester.
Just like Cheetham Hill got a cheer last year.
It did, yeah. I forgot about that.
Which is weird. That's the only time I've ever heard anyone cheer for Cheetham Hill.
Do not understand why Cheetham Hill being cheered for is funny.
Anyway. That kind of all gets tied up. Poppy is the child of Belinda and not Ricardo. That's
not Ricardo.
The other
Rich something.
HR man.
I did Google him. He's not a character.
Not seen.
He does have a TARDIS wiki page, though.
Of course.
Already been made.
Of course. I have a TARDIS wiki page. Everyone has a TARDIS wiki page. No. I'm just saying everyone has a TARDIS.
I was genuinely astounded. He has a TARDIS wiki page. She's not a Time Lord, half Time Lord baby.
No.
None of that is canon.
Although, unless you believe the little scene that you saw on Unleashed of... Is it Sienna who plays the little baby?
What does she say again?
So in the little outtake, the Doctor scans and goes, 100% human, and then Belinda goes, well, what else could she be? And then she turns to the shooting and goes, Doctor Who.
Oh, Doctor Who.
Which is really sweet.
Yeah.
Deleted scene. There you go. Poppy is the timeless child.
I thought for a moment they might go down that
route. So yeah, we get all that wrapped up, and then Ncuti is kind of saying goodbye.
Yeah, you'll see me again, but not with this face, or not like this, or something like that.
Call back to Eccleston's line of not like this, and he goes off in the TARDIS, and at that point I was starting to sort of go, I'm actually going to get quite emotional because this is it.
Yeah.
And there he is in the TARDIS. We sort of get a moment where he says, I don't want to do this alone, which is quite of his Doctor. I love the way that the TARDIS lights sort of dim
shot. As it
follows him. I know what shot you're going to talk. But as the sort of the lights around the console,
and on the big screen, that was so. Because I watched it again, and it was different watching it on the TV than watching it on the big screen, because the whole room that you're in as well goes dark because it's all being lit up by the screen. So it was really interesting, at least visually interesting, to just see that as it follows him to the
powerful door. Kind of, especially in the way that we've kind of been unsure about Doctor Who's future at the minute. I mean, I've never been unsure about it because it's Doctor Who. I was sorting out TV license stuff the other day. Doctor Who is front and center of that, and it's not just like, oh, here's an old picture of David Tennant. A new image of Ncuti from season 2 is front and center of the TV license thing. Doctor Who is massive for the BBC.
I never for a minute thought it was going to be.
It'll never go away.
I thought, maybe Disney might pull out, but the BBC will figure it out.
Doctor Who will always continue. It is one of their biggest exports.
Exactly.
There's no chance it's going to go away.
I never thought for a minute it was going to be cancelled.
But that moment of the TARDIS shutting down did feel kind of like, imagine if this was like the close of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And I did kind of have, as Ncuti leans out the TARDIS, he sees Joy. That what was that?
He falls out.
It falls out. That's the end of the show. The Doctor just goes, whoa! He does kind of lean out though, doesn't he?
He does. Behind the scenes, he's on a rope. He's dangling on a rope.
I thought so, because I looked. There's that moment when it sort of pans around, and he's got him on his tiptoes.
Yes.
Anyway, he sees Joy in the sky. We hear the same. It's the same cue from the end of Joy to the World.
Is it?
I think so. It's that big sort of bombastic. I loved that cue at the end of Joy to the World. So I think it was the same.
When that happened, I just went, oh, because I got the reference.
Yeah.
Katie then looked at me and went, what? I don't think she had any idea what that part was.
But either way, it's just nice. It's almost like the Doctor just sort of looking out at the universe, like he's never alone.
Yeah.
He's got all his children, hasn't he?
Exactly.
And his final line of "It has been an absolute joy" kind of sums up his Doctor. As we were saying, he feels these emotions so vividly. So what else to go out on other than a smile? It's strange actually, because as he starts,
I thought he might cry.
It's weird actually. You know what? In this episode, I don't think he cries.
I don't think he does.
But in that moment, I kind of thought he's smiling, right? And then as he fades away, the smile fades as well. And I almost thought it's a shame that he
stopped smiling.
As in, like, he's smiling and then he's sort of stopped smiling. And I kind of thought, like, it's interesting they didn't just hold on that smile because that's, his outlook.
A smile comes back.
A smile certainly comes back. After that beautiful shot of the console.
Such a lovely shot.
With the
because you see the regeneration light lighting up, everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense thinking about it, but
how that light is lighting up.
Because he's inside, sort of, almost. I mean, he's leaning out, technically.
It's a beautiful shot.
It shouldn't just be, the silhouette of the TARDIS door. It should be a wider angle.
I'll do anything for a bit of beautiful cinematography.
It was really nice. I really love that shot.
That moment, that shot, the shot as it panned out and he was sort
from
of...
behind.
The shot of him with sort of spiraling regeneration energy around the world, the universe. Both of those shots, I thought, are they just going to cut to the credits? Like, particularly the one of in the TARDIS with the sort of the glow.
That could be the end.
I thought like they could just stop it there and then go to be continued, or even not. Because of how we don't know what's going on.
Yep.
Same with the shot, a bit like Power of the Doctor when it pans away from the cliff of Jodie being on the edge.
Yep.
That shot of the Doctor leaning out the TARDIS and stuff sort of, regeneration flowing everywhere. I had the exact same thought of that could cut there, and then there you go. So yeah, it was insane to sort of rattle through those emotions, hit Ncuti's face, he regenerates, it blurs out again. Could just stop there.
It completely blurred. Yeah.
They keeps going, and then there's Billy Piper.
Massive grin.
Piper. Hello, you, or was it hello? Oh, hello.
Oh, hello.
Just hello.
Yeah.
And again, the cinema, it was both a gasp and a kind of cheer and a kind of elated, like, what? It was crazy. So many people, all cinema etiquette just went out the window as everyone just turned around to people
Started
and
going, whoa,
what's going on? What?
Yeah. Same thing happened with us.
Absolutely nuts.
Yeah. And despite, reading things in the paper this week saying that was going to happen, I didn't believe it for a second.
That's the only
and then it happened.
That's the only kind of like rumour that I'd kind of not quite like gone looking for, but I just heard.
Yeah.
Like
that
as you hear people sort of
mainstream.
talking about like, oh yeah, David Tennant's going to come back as Doctor Who. Obviously he did, but
at the time we all thought, no, he's not.
But like Billy Piper's going to be Doctor Who, you'd be like,
no way.
This is tabloids sort of book, being the bookies, but no.
You'll never get. Well, you of all people, you probably would know. But who said Billy Piper should be the next Doctor Who? Christopher Eccleston. Maybe Russell's done it to get back on.
He's not wrong though, because she was fantastic as Rose. She's been brilliant in I Hate Susie.
I really need to see I Hate Susie.
Watch it. It's
fantastic.
On my list. Scoop. That's great
brilliant
movie.
She's great.
She's
in
brilliant.
That. Secret Diary of a Call Girl.
She is just
a very different TV show, but
Rose.
she's great in that as well.
She is a fantastic actress.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what route they're going to go down here.
No, so my guess it's Bad Wolf, because it doesn't say Billy Piper as the Doctor.
It doesn't.
Everyone and their mum has pointed out in the credits.
There's no kind of official announcement. You would have expected by now, here's a press shot of Billy in Ncuti's costume in front of a TARDIS doors. Here's the 16th Doctor.
Yeah. None of that. No. Nothing's happened. So you can kind of infer this might be last minute. This might be something we don't know. They don't know what they're going to do with it. Who knows? But my hope is that she is the Doctor, and she does a full series. That's what I want.
That's what you want?
That's what I want. I don't want back for one episode as Bad Wolf, as the Bad Wolf Doctor or something. I want Doctor 16, Billy Piper, full series. Because otherwise, I'm going to feel like it's a massive cop-out.
In that moment, I thought, oh my God, Billy Piper is just the new Doctor. And I mean, like I say, she's a brilliant actress. Peter Capaldi came back, despite being in it before. Karen Gillan. It's not an unheard of. Colin Baker.
Yeah.
It's not unheard of. And yes, I know we had David back, so
because we've just done that. That's why I'm a bit. If we just get one episode or 3 episodes as a weird Doctor who's not really a Doctor, who's a weird one, who's not going to be proper or whatever, whatever. I want Doctor Who again.
I would absolutely be here for that. Absolutely.
I'd probably enjoy it. I wouldn't have a problem. No, look. But I don't want this to be a gimmick. That's what I want.
I agree. I would love a series of Piper as the 16th Doctor. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't either. Otherwise, they would have said as the Doctor in the credits.
But equally, I'm just as excited to see what they do next.
Yeah, I am as well. Who knows if and when.
Look, I love this programme.
Yeah.
I came out of the screening feeling that exactly the same way. And I'm really sorry that so many people have really not, enjoyed this one. Yeah. And like I say, it's the same way as, you're very passionate about your teams, your support and all that sort of stuff. And it's apocalyptic and world ending, and if it's slightly askew, and we never want things to be off, but I loved this. I had a great time. Yeah. I loved walking out. I just love this program.
Walking out of
that's
the cinema,
the feeling.
The vibe, because like I said, there were 2 screens showing it. There were probably at least 100, probably more people in cosplay or Doctor Who t-shirts. I mean, I was wearing my Knowing Who podcast t-shirt because I thought, why not? I did a little TikTok that people might have seen. It's one of our most popular ever TikToks.
Did you do a Knowing Who TikTok?
I did a Knowing Who TikTok.
You should send it to me. I have no idea.
No, you've done one. It's me walking into a TARDIS prop and it's done really horribly. Sophie from work helped me shoot it because she was just around, and
amazing.
It was so bad. I thought, and I've put the Series 4 theme tune on the background, and it only does the first 5 seconds of it. And I thought, this is terrible, but it's really funny. And it's done really well. So I'm very happy about that. But the vibe the response that has is everyone in the comments going, oh my God, Billy's the Doctor. Oh my God, this is happening. I'm so excited. And the vibe walking out of the cinema, and everyone was talking to their friends, and I was talking to my friends, and I was saying, oh, they're going to do this. What was this? What do you think about that? And it felt like Doctor Who was back, even though it's not been gone anywhere, but it felt like it was back in the mainstream almost, because I feel like it's not been the last couple of years as much as I wish it was, but now it kind of feels like, whoa, everyone is here and everyone is watching.
I've had a lot of messages from non-fan people who've watched this series and really enjoyed it.
When we go into work tomorrow, everyone is going to be asking us questions.
100%. I've had messages from people from work already.
I haven't, but I'm sure people
Angus,
will ask
shout out
questions.
to you who just went, I got it spoiled, but
he hasn't watched
that really
a single
happened?
episode this year yet.
No. But yeah, it's. I love this program. I think my advice would be, if all you're seeing is the negativity, there will be some positivity out there. If you enjoyed it, you're definitely not alone. We
both enjoyed it. Even though I've bashed it, I loved it.
It's Doctor Who, and I love it for all its faults, for all its successes. I love this program, and what better way to come out of a series, I think it's been a great era. Ncuti has been fantastic. We've been very lucky to have him as an actor. Yeah. Like, how lucky were we to get him at that point in his career? He's very sensibly going off and doing more things now before his legs get buggered up by doing spinning on the spot.
That,
seemed obsessed with how...
He was saying how bad his knees had gotten from being the Doctor.
I mean...
I hope it's all right.
Who knows how many stunts they've got him to do.
All those wire work he's done.
But,
jumping and running and landing.
He's been brilliant. And like I say... Yeah, I'm fascinated to see what he does next. And yeah, I'm only sort of just coming to terms with the fact that we're not getting more Ncuti now.
I had this moment of thought earlier where, Ncuti was the Doctor, and even though I said earlier that this episode was my moment where I finally went, oh my God, he is the Doctor. In 20 years' time, if and when he is a megastar, we can turn around and say he was Doctor Who.
He was Doctor Who.
Yeah, we had him. He was Doctor Who. He was ours. And that's going to be, because you can look back at old Doctors, and obviously we love them all because they're Doctor Who as well. And David Tennant and Matt Smith have had their successes as well, but Ncuti's on this trajectory. And I hope he doesn't come off this trajectory. Maybe me saying this might jinx it, but he's on this path that seems to be really good for him, and he's headed for mega stardom. He's already been the star of a Netflix drama before Doctor Who, and he's been in a Hollywood movie already with Barbie. So
he's going to be in a movie with Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman.
Is he?
Yeah,
perfect. So I hope it just continues, and we can say in 20 years' time he was Doctor Who.
Yeah, Oh, I'm sure. Just like, look at Karen Gillan.
Yeah, Karen's doing great as well.
Yeah.
Oh, talking about Karen Gillan. Unleashed next week.
The
20th anniversary.
And I'm really excited
Unleashed
about this.
Thing.
Yeah.
They announced this week, as opposed to a couple of weeks ago when they announced everyone else, that Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill are coming back. So does that makes me think that they've added them on at the last minute because they weren't part of the original? I don't know, but that's so intriguing, and I'm so excited.
I'm really excited for a little celebration, a little shindig.
Billy's in it. We will probably find out something next week.
Oh, absolutely.
I think
maybe we'll get a little tease.
I think they're deliberately. I don't think they fully know what they're going to do, or they obviously haven't got a commission yet, because that's public knowledge. Russell's been saying that for months. But next week we might actually find out: is she the Doctor? Is she Bad Wolf? Is she this?
Do we still have a Disney deal?
We might. I don't know. I don't know if we'll find that out in Unleashed.
No, I'm not saying in Unleashed. I'm just saying.
I think in Unleashed
general.
we might actually find out who she's playing.
Maybe.
Or a hint towards that.
I think at the very least a hint.
Maybe
they'll address
they might tell
something.
us that we've got a Christmas special fully funded by the license fee. Who knows?
Well, at the end of the day, we're not I think beforehand we were like, well, there's going to be no Christmas special because Ncuti is in this play for this amount of time. There's no time to shoot it. We're in a different state now, so who knows?
Yeah. I hope we get a Christmas special.
I would love that.
Yeah.
And I think Russell would want that to happen as well.
Exactly.
Because we want the show to be on the air as long as possible. Yeah.
And even if Doctor Who loses the Disney deal and it's
still going to keep going.
It's just Doctor Who.
Oh,
no, it's definitely going to keep going. And I kind of hope that with a smaller budget, not that this last couple series have been bad in any way, but I kind of like low budget Doctor Who, you know?
It means you're being creative in different ways.
Exactly. And
We've got
I
the creativity on this massive
ingenuity.
scale for the Disney Plus era. So whatever happens, either way, you're creative in a different sense.
The end of this story, all the stuff shot on the TARDIS and the regeneration bit and the back garden in Belinda's house was shot so well. There was almost no, obviously there's massive VFX for the regeneration itself.
Yeah, but the simplicity of it.
There's no VFX, there's no green screens, there's nothing. It's just, low depth of field, high quality 4K.
Yeah.
Actors doing what they do best. It was shot so well, it looked so good.
I definitely think the Reality War was shot. I preferred the way that was shot to the Wishworld. I think it was blocked and it was framed very nicely.
Literally, especially the epilogue almost. Everything after when he starts saving Poppy, essentially that part onwards, I think was shot so well and so lovely that if that's what the next series looks like, minimal VFX, just good production value, making worth of what they've got. Because they've got the cameras now, I hope they're not renting them. They've got the cameras, they've got the sets, they've got the props. They can just carry on, just use the budget the best they can. And that's what I hope Doctor Who turns into, if they have to do that.
And on that note, I think that's a really positive way to end this. And hopefully you've enjoyed hearing us actually.
Yeah, I think we've been going for over 2 hours at
Absolutely.
this point.
I mean, a bumper special. And please do let us know your thoughts.
We do have some tweets.
Do we have some tweets?
One of them's from Sonny King. Sonny says, the definition of a mixed bag. Jodie and Ncuti scene was my absolute highlight, as well as Millie's performance when she realised Poppy had disappeared. Yeah. Kind of bummed to see Ncuti go, though I felt 15 had more life left in him. I think we've said exactly that. I completely agree.
Well, we do. You'd always like to see more of a Doctor.
Of every Doctor.
Yeah.
And then Tom T-Who102 says, loved a lot of it, especially the battle against the Bone Beasts and the scene with the Doctor and Belinda folding away the coat as they forgot Poppy. It looks like the reshoot started once they returned to unit, and I'd love to know what the original ending would have been. Yeah, I think I wasn't going to go into reshoots and theorising and questioning, but I think exactly the same thing. I think that's exactly what happened. And he also goes on to say, can't believe Ncuti's gone with no build-up or announcement. He solidified himself as the Doctor this season, and it's a shame to see him go. It's crazy to see Billy, but who is she if not credited as the Doctor? Yeah. So, we've asked the same questions.
Yeah.
Who knows? I want to know.
Yeah,
I hope she's the Doctor.
We want to know. I'm very excited for the next chapter.
Keep your eyes peeled for Knowing Who. Not Knowing Who. Doctor Who Unleashed. Doctor Who Unleashed next week. I think that might answer a couple questions.
More Doctor Who to come, which is always great. And
it's going to be like that Matt Smith reveal episode of Confidential.
Yeah, but after the fact.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Billy Piper. You know Billy Piper.
You're Doctor Who.
I loved in just a little one to end on of Stefan Powell talking about Jodie Whittaker's code name, Petrol, which is just a beautiful. I love the Welsh.
I was watching that with Tom, and I just, not my brother Tom, my friend Tom, and we just turned to each other and both went, cheese, petrol, which is quite a reference to anyone who might. I think it's from the Mitchell and Webb show.
Right.
Cheese. Petrol, it's a robot that can only determine one or the other. And that's all it can do.
Right. That's what they should have called Ncuti in the scripts. Jeez.
Yeah.
Lovely stuff. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for listening. We hope you've enjoyed. And let us know your highlights. Let's keep this positive and let us know your highlights from season 2 and your excitement or predictions or whatever your hopes going forward. Yes. And thank you very much for listening.
Yeah.
So
I hope we'll see you again.
Who knows?
Knowing who.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
You've been listening to Knowing Who, another Doctor Who podcast with me, Miles Taylor.
And me, Ben Davidson. Thank you to Sonny King for producing our theme tune.
And thank you to you for listening. You can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, plus YouTube on the Tailored Vision YouTube channel.
You can also follow us on all social media channels at Knowing Who Pod.
Catch you next time for more Knowing Who.